It's the 10-year anniversary special of True Vault Escapades. Yes, for a full decade now, the adventures of Walter and Bunny have graced the digital airwaves with their bottomless barrel of post-war mysteries set in the deadly world of Fallout. Who knew the Wasteland's favorite detectives would come this far? And who knew so much was in store for Walter and Bunny outside the Texas Commonwealth? Well, the jury's still out on that one, friends, because 10 years later, the escapades continue. And today, you'll get to meet the star-studded cast and crew behind those escapades for the very first time. But first, a message from True Vault Escapades creator Preston Hardin.
Well, friends, if this isn't an indicator of seniority, I don't know what is. 10 years ago, on this very date, the first episode of True Vault Escapades premiered, a combination of my love for Fallout and its responsibility for my appreciation of the old world. You could technically say it's a little bit older because this little brainchild of mine was first conceived in 2014, and pen had already touched paper at that point. The initial plan for the show was to have a strategic release shortly before the release of Fallout 4, but as you might know from our previous bonus episodes, a massive series of roadblocks from casting and editing pushed that release into the next year. No matter though, we had an exciting premiere, and in turn, receiving rousing support from the Fallout community at large. The rest was history after that. Also mentioned in the past, the adventures of Walter and Bunny could only be found on YouTube back in 2016, and a couple of years following. 2020 was when I decided to include it as a podcast. I'm happy to say it's faring a whole lot better on audio platforms rather than visual. And going back into its inception, True Vault Escapades was only intended to have 5 episodes, meant to play on rotation for my Fallout-inspired web station, A-Bomb Radio, mimicking the Galaxy News radio format of Fallout 3. Music, then an episode of Herbert Daring Dashwood and his stalwart ghoul manservant Argyle, then repeat. And just like Herbert Dashwood, this little story was intended to be short and sweet, telling a narrative about a detective and his love interest solving a big mystery, and that was it. Well, A-Bomb Radio is gone now, and even back when all 5 episodes were finished, I caught a bug that today I still can't shake. So after laying the groundwork for future stories, I reunited Walter and Bunny and made it to where the couple could keep solving mysteries over and over again. Besides the protagonists, we've met an interesting cast of colorful characters who have remained staples of True Vault Escapades for years now. Lieutenant Humphreys, Mr. Casket, actual in-game characters like Volpes and Colta, Mr. House, Benny, Alan Marks, Colonel Shu, Lieutenant Boyd, and too many more to mention in this intro. Today, for the 10th anniversary, I wanted to introduce you to some of the people who have brought and continue to breathe life into this ode to old-time radio, and everyone's favorite post-apocalyptic role-playing game, starting off with none other than our very own narrator, as well as the voice of Lieutenant Humphreys and Mr. Casket, Phillip Sacramento. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the broadcast.
It's True Vault Escapades! This is Lieutenant Humphreys of the New California Republic. It would be in your best interest to give yourself up, Alan. I am no negotiator, nor do I plan to be.
Is it someone new? Gene Casket Carmichael. The guy that just saved your ass.
My drill is broken. But who's gonna pay for my drill?
That crash was so gnarly, my mustache almost turned upside down. Education is key, detectives.
Hi, Hi everybody, how are you? My name is Phillip Sacramento. I'm a professional voice actor from Northern Ireland, and I am part of the voice cast for True Vault Escapades. You'll have heard me as the voice of the show's narrator, as the voice of Lieutenant Humphreys, and the villainous Mr. Casket, as well as a bunch of other characters throughout the show. So, I've been a voice actor for about 20 plus years now, and I have performed in a whole bunch of different things across video games, film, TV. Probably where you would most likely hear me from, if you play Zenless Zone Zero, I'm the voice of Panin Hu. Also the voice of King Arthur in the video game Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon, or Interrogator Jurgen in the Warhammer animated series Interrogator. And also coming up, you'll be able to hear me in the series Lackadaisy as the voice of Dr. Leo Quackenbush, just to name a few of the places where you might have heard me. I started in school, but I had no idea that voice acting was even really a thing. I liked drama growing up, but it wasn't something necessarily that I thought of as being like, oh, this is the thing that I'm going to do. And I used to do impersonations. I was fascinated by Don LaFontaine, the guy who did like the movie trailer voices, you know, the classic kind of in a world where, you know, that kind of voice. And I used to like impersonate that all the time, like do sort of read movie trailers out loud and that kind of thing. And when I was in school, a friend knew about this and approached me, and they were working on like essentially a radio play adaptation of a property that they were a big fan of, and they asked if I wanted to audition for it. Now, I had no idea like about anything like this, right? Like I had never thought that this was a thing that people did, but I said, yeah, sure, I'll give it a go. And I remember doing my first audition. It was live over MSN Messenger back in the day when that was a thing, and I did it over like a little cheap microphone that I had with a little bit of tissue paper over the top of it, just so I didn't have all of those explosive plosive sounds. And I did it live for them over reading, and actually they cast me in the project. Unfortunately, though, it didn't really go anywhere in the end, but they directed me to an online community of people who were really big into, like, for example, fan dubbing was a big part of where I got my start too. So like fan dubbing, radio plays, like writing their own material and like adapting existing material, called the Voice Acting Alliance. And that's where I sort of got my start. So I went in there, and I basically spent the next 8 or so years there just honing my craft, having fun. And throughout all this time, it was very much like a hobby. It was something that I never thought of as like, this isn't a career for me. This is just something that I really enjoyed. And, you know, I got to learn a lot about, how to record audio effectively, how to make it sound good, how to do a little bit of post-production to kind of clean it up and that kind of thing. And really, like, that was all of that process, and my time there and the friends I made there, all of that sort of fed into like improving my craft and like developing my skill set. And I learned so much during my time there, made so many wonderful friends through that whole experience, like many of whom I still work with to this day. And and really the transition then into professional work happened very gradually for me. Like, as I say, it wasn't something that I was actively thinking of at the time, but every so often, like, a professional job would come up, and you would audition for them. They were very popular, obviously. And but I managed to then score my first professional job. It was on a video game, and then after that, sort of, you'd go back to doing your stuff for fun, and then maybe another opportunity would come up, and then another opportunity after that. And so it happened kind of slowly, where I reached this point where I realized, oh, like, this is, I'm doing this now. I'm doing this professionally. I'm starting to get to the point where like things are, I'm starting to like actually book things. And yeah, so like that was a huge moment for me, where kind of realizing like, oh, this is something that I maybe could do. And then it just kind of built all from there quite progressively over time. It wasn't all smooth sailing, I have to say. Like, I actually left voice work for a long time. I wrestled with clinical depression, and just the idea of my own adequacy in the space and that kind of thing of like, being someone from like Northern Ireland in an industry that was primarily, I had no plans to move to a major metropolitan city, and I certainly had no ideas of moving all the way over to like uprooting and moving to America or, anywhere like that. So for me, I just kind of thought, oh, well, like I'm not able or in the position to do these things that are just kind of givens in the industry as I saw them at the time. And like, I was battling my own depression for a whole load of things, and still, I still am, I've been to, talked to therapists and stuff like this, over the years, and, I manage it. But yeah, no, like for a long time, I was actually out of voice acting altogether for a few years. And, that was a tough part of my life, for sure. But I came back into it, built it all up again, started over, and just kind of rededicated myself to it. And I have to say, since doing, it's been a wonderful process, because, like, really, I'm so lucky that I've been able to, keep working in this industry and really carved out a place for myself in it, and worked with some absolutely incredible and wonderful people, not least of which the people on True Vault Escapades. Preston has been like endlessly wonderful throughout the whole thing, and working on the show, they've made it so easy for me. And yeah, no, like it's been an incredible ride, and I've learned so much about myself and about this craft that I love over the years, and it's really been wonderful to bring all of that to bear into the Fallout universe, which is great. I played, my entry into the series was with Fallout, specifically was with Fallout 3, and I played Fallout 3, and I liked it. I really liked the start of Fallout 3. I had a great time with the start of it. I think the vibes and the mood and the tone of it, I think, was so compelling. But then there was a certain point, I think I sort of bounced off of it. The one that really hooked me was New Vegas, and I don't know what it was necessarily about it. Maybe it was just the transplanted setting. Maybe it was a setting, I guess, that I felt was more colorful, more interesting to me. But I also think it was a lot to do with like the reactiveness of the game world to you. I really felt like that's where, for me, the series really hit its stride. I haven't played the originals. I've heard wonderful things about them, and but I haven't had the chance to play those myself. But New Vegas was definitely my into the show. So I had a bit of a grounding in Fallout when I was approached about the show, and so that helped kind of ease me into kind of the idea. And I remember when it was pitched to me, when I was being invited to audition, it very much the idea was evoking the golden age of radio serials, right? Like things like the Shadow, or like Thrilling Tales and that kind of thing. And I loved that idea. I just thought that was so fitting for the Fallout universe, and it was so fitting to tell stories in this space. And so it was going to a lot of like old-timey radio broadcasts, listening to people like the old Untouchables series and stuff like that, which I sort of set as like some of my touchstones, especially when approaching like the narrator. And one of the things that hit me right away about the show was like just the sheer attention to detail and the magnitude, the scope of the storytelling ambition in this. Because, I mean, essentially, like, True Vault Escapades, they are feature-length scripts. These are fully realized narratives with rich characters and ongoing drama and dramatic, cliffhangers and twists. And each one of these scripts, when they're sent to me, are such... like, they're real thrill rides. They really are. And they have room to be comedic and intense and dramatic. But with all of that color and that unique Fallout flavor, that sense of juxtaposition between the familiar and the outlandish. And the writing is really, really so strong. And that was the thing that immediately said to me, like, this is something I absolutely have to be involved in. This is something I want to be a part of. And like that has continued throughout, and like the ambitions of the show have only gotten bigger as time has gone on. Like I'm frequently floored by just the scope of the writing and like the stories that we tell. It's been really incredible. In terms of a favorite episode, which like that's quite the task. I really liked, we did like an episode of the Mothman, where it was kind of framed like an old horror serial, and I am like a very sort of Vincent Price horror story kind of thing, and I really liked it. I thought that was great fun to play with. It sort of brought the narration more prominently to the surface, so it was fun to kind of extend the narrator's role into the storytelling more in that way in that episode. In terms of the episode that really, I think, floored me was the BioShock crossover, because I thought that was just such a towering achievement to kind of marry these two very distinct properties that share a lot of like DNA and like thematic cores with each other, and then blended in this really fascinating way where, you know, characters that you are familiar with get flipped on their head and get inverted, and like just that sort of heady excitement of being in this space that is new and familiar at the same time. Again, that thing about the juxtaposition of these two universes. But it was great. So richly realized, and I really had a blast recording for that. I did some of the work that I'm really fondest of in that episode, and I really loved that one as well. So yeah, I mean that kind of gives you a sense of me as it relates to the show. But I was asked like if I had any parting words, what I would say, and like I always struggle with things like this because like what do you talk about, right? I mentioned before about like, you know, that I had struggled with depression and stuff like that, and not to get too, you know, deep into the mire here, but simply to say that, like, you know, my journey, you know, if people are listening to this right now, right, and, you know, there's a part of you that maybe has a thought of like, maybe you'd like to do voice work, maybe you'd like to do this as like a hobby or even as a career for yourself, but you think that there are obstacles you can't cross. There are things you can't get past. I mean, obviously, everybody's circumstances are different. But all I can simply say is that for me, and, you know, in the situation that I was in, and I guess some of the privileges maybe that I was able to avail of, you know, I was someone who came from a background where this kind of thing, it just, you know, seemed like an impossible thing. And like I not only just like where I am locationally, but also like, you know, I have you know, a bit of a medical history. Like I have a prosthesis like over my heart. I have an artificial heart valve, and it like you can hear it literally ticking every time that I'm on microphone, because we're dealing with, you know, highly sensitive audio equipment. So so every time that I record, you can hear my valve like going. And I just thought, well, there's no way like I can do this as a career, right? Because like, you know, clean audio is such a big part of this work. So you know, I had it in my head that this is just another reason why I'm not meant for this work. But nothing could have been further from the truth. And it even allows me to say, like, if you'll permit me, that like I literally I put my heart into everything I do in this job, and like and simply to say that I do genuinely believe that if you love something and there is this thing that you love and you're passionate about and you're driven to do, then I believe it you know, it will wait for you until you're ready. It may be difficult for you to do something now about what you want, or maybe now is not the right time for you, but when it is that time and you're ready, I do genuinely believe that you can find your way forward, and you can find a way to make your own path in this industry, because that's basically how I approached everything I did in this space. I sort of worked to my own rules and found my own way to work around the intricacies and the eccentricities of this industry, and to try and really make a home for myself inside it. And I do genuinely believe that others can do the same. So I would invite people, if they feel like they are struggling and they're not sure if there's a space for them in this industry, I would say, stay curious, stay passionate, hold on to that and nurture it and follow it where it leads you. And, you might very well surprise yourself at how far it can actually take you. So yeah, that would be, I guess, my advice for anyone. I hope that's valuable to someone anyway. But, thank you. I just want to say thank you to Preston and everyone at the True Vault Escapades team. This is a privilege that I get to do this, and I absolutely appreciate and recognize that. And working with everyone here, working with the team, the other voice actors, the people behind the scenes who work so hard to write, produce, edit, and sound design and score this this project, as well as producers and various other roles. This is an incredible feat of production every time this show gets made, and really to be able to be a part of this journey and to have been invited along for this ride is something I absolutely cherish. And I hope that you all will continue to love this show as much as we love being a part of it and making it for you. So no, absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble to this little Northern Irish guy talking about their job. So I hope it's been entertaining for you, and take care. I will talk to you again soon. All the best. Bye bye.
Say, Trixie, got your fresh eyes from the boat right here.
Bunny! It's so refreshing to see another celebrity around here. Oh, it's just like we're a dying breed.
I can't believe this is actually happening. You sly dog, you. Whatever else could surprise me more than our wedding day?
And I was just starting to relax. Jaxxis, it's Officer O'Neill! Well, I mean, there is an excitement to it. Thing is, it ain't fair when the public doesn't know who the opposition is. Can't be a superhero without a supervillain.
Oh my gosh! There's so many of them! No, you come out here and face me right now! I'm not sorry for what I did to Stefan. You hear me? I hope he rots in hell as we speak. Hey, my name's Shaleah Wagner, and I played Trixie Hampton, Kitty, and Marge in 3 of the episodes of True Vault Escapades. So I first started acting when I was really little. I think I was about 4 or 5 when I did my first musical, and I was so shy. My grandma put me into theater because she knew I liked watching musicals and singing, but I was very shy. And I always say that was their mistake because I'm not shy anymore. And I continued to do theater and music all the way through high school, and in college I got a degree in theater arts from the University of Oregon. And then I moved to LA and I pursued acting there for a while. I did all the things. I did extra work. I got training at all the different acting studios. I worked on different sets. I got my SAG card, and I did improv training at the Groundlings Improv Studio. And my favorite thing was musical improv. And at Groundlings, they had this voice acting seminar that was for free. And it was taught by George McGrath, who worked on Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse. And he taught it as a courtesy to students there, and he would help you make your first tiny demo to just get you started. That I took right when COVID started. So I was at home, acting from home, in a closet, and I, at the same time, started watching more animated content and thought, oh, I really like this, and I think I might be okay at it. So that's when I really dove in and said, okay, this is what I'm going to pursue. From there, I started doing lots of free projects. I still do lots of free projects. And the first thing that I booked was this high school kid made a comic of Sailor Moon for his computer graphics class or whatever. And he posted the audition online from Casting Call Club, and I booked it. It was just like a 30-second little comic strip thing that this kid just needed some voice actors for to show that he could animate or whatever. Well, it turns out you can listen to other people's auditions on Casting Call Club. And the creator of the Sailor Stars fan dubs, Korza, he reached out to me and said, hey, I think you might be a good voice match for Terry Hawks, and we're trying to dub some of the episodes that haven't been dubbed in English yet. I think at the time Crunchyroll was still trying to catch up. And the Sailor Stars fan dubs have been cited in research papers. It's a big fan dub that's been around for a long time, and it's been this fan dub that other fan dubbers kind of look to. And it was made at a time when Sailor Moon wasn't available in English. Not all of the episodes were. The 90s version only had so many episodes dubbed, and then they stopped. So his goal was to recreate the 90s dub feel in these episodes that hadn't been dubbed yet. So I got to be Usagi, but in the English version it's Serena in these dubs, and that really helped me build my confidence. I think I did 2 or 3 episodes. His original Sailor Moon ended up moving on to dub anime, so I stepped in and did a couple of episodes. And from there, I started auditioning for more and more projects. It wasn't too long after that I auditioned for True Vault Escapades, but the question said, what other notable projects have you been a part of? I was in Hollow Nest Vocalized, the mod for Hollow Knight that gives voice to the bugs in the game. And I played Mila, the little miner bug. I'm also a bug in an ongoing indie cartoon called The Runaway 8. I play Pompey. And I was also Lucy in the widely hated, the Great Lumpkin Charlie Brown parody on YouTube. I think it's mostly hated because people go into it thinking it's the original one, and it's not. It's a parody for mostly kids from the 90s or millennials. And you can't watch the original Great Pumpkin. It's only available on Apple TV. So the only way you can get it for free is to watch it via a parody or in pieces on YouTube. And so there are a ton of hate comments on it. People just love their nostalgia and they don't want it to change. So I had to grow a thick skin really quick and realized that first and foremost, I need to be proud of the work that I put into a project and to do my best work always, or at least strive to do my best work always, and to let the finished product or the results just be what they are. So the question is, were you already a fan of Fallout? If so, what is your favorite installment and why? What I know about Fallout is from True Vault Escapades and from what people have posted on the Discord server. And I like it. I like what I've seen. I don't play video games at all. I appreciate people who do. My husband's a big gamer. And I would love to watch the TV show. I like Walter Goggins, so I'm sure I'd like it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I have a toddler, so a lot of times we're watching Don Quixote or Mickey Mouse or Winnie the Pooh. So I need to put it on my to-be-watched list for when she's asleep. The next question is, how did you first get involved with True Vault Escapades? So, I saw a casting call on Casting Call Club for the character Trixie Hampton. And I read it. I thought she was a fabulous character. I knew what I wanted to do. And then I feel like this is kind of cheating. I listened to some of the other auditions that had already been submitted, and they all sort of hit the mark, and they all sounded good, but they all sounded the same, and they didn't sound like they were missing that element of her movie star over-the-top quality. And, like, none of them made her cute, you know? Like, none of them gave her that little edge to her personality. And so I thought, well, I'm going to throw all my bets on my instinct, and I'm going to audition for Trixie the way I think that she would sound and how I think she would behave. And it panned out. I booked the job, and I was so excited. I remember telling my husband, like, hey, I booked this really cool audio drama. Like, I had been wanting to book an audio drama since I started. Like, I love podcasts and audio dramas. And that's the thing about True Vault Escapades. So even though I didn't know much about Fallout, I asked my husband a little bit about it, and he gave me some vague details. But I really didn't need too much because the script gave me enough context clues to know what was going on. At first, I was like, bottle caps? What? And then I realized, oh, it's kind of like currency. I still don't look at bottle caps the same way. But yes, every episode that I've been a part of, the script has been well written and provided me as an actor with lots to play with and a very rich world to live in. So when my first episode came out, I shared it with my mom and grandma. They're two of my biggest supporters, and they were both excited about it, even though they didn't know anything about Fallout either. My grandma's 87, so she's not a big video game player, but they both enjoyed it. And then not long after that, I played Kitty, and then it was a while in between, and I had moved and a bunch of life things had happened. I had my daughter, and now I have an agent, and I train regularly with Julie Madalena, and Preston contacted me and said, hey, would you be interested in participating in another episode? And I said, absolutely, of course I would, because all of the content that Preston makes is good. And he sent me the script for I Married a Mothman, and I thought, oh, okay, so I'll probably, like, have a few lines, and I'll turn them in. I read the script, and I was like, oh, Marge, I'm the character Marge, she's on the first page. Marge was on every page. It was literally the biggest project I've been in to date, and it's one of the ones that I'm the most proud of. I shared it with all my friends and family, and my husband is too scared to listen to it. When I was recording it, I wanted the screaming and the fear to be as authentic as possible. Well, my daughter was 2 at the time, and I do have a professional booth at home. However, if somebody's screaming in it, you can still hear. It's not soundproofed, it's just sound treated. And so I asked my mom and grandma to watch her, and I would then record the scenes that required, like, screaming or fear, so that way she wouldn't have to hear it. My dogs, they're so used to me screaming and doing who knows what that they weren't even fazed, really. But yeah, it was something that I felt like it was fun, but it also pushed me because it was a horror project, and I wanted to make it as real as possible in that world. So my favorite episode is the Mothman episode. I am proud of the work I put in, and I was super pleased with how it turned out. But my favorite character to play was Trixie. She was just so fun. Congratulations on 10 years to True Vault Escapades, and thank you so much for including me in your story and letting me help bring some of the characters to life. I hope that you continue to keep creating and making cool stuff. And also, I feel like being a part of True Vault Escapades really helped me as a voice actor to gain confidence and to grow. So just again, thank you for letting me be a part of your project.
It's The Strip with Walter and Bunny. It's an early morning, and Walter and Bunny are on their way to an abandoned suburb after answering a disturbing dispatch
Start
call.
today's case with Walter and Bunny headed to New Vegas' Freeside on foot during a sunny afternoon.
It's a quiet morning at the detective agency, and the investigative pair are about to take a job from a young Brotherhood soldier.
Well, wasn't that an interesting display of wit? I was originally going to open the door earlier, but when I heard you beginning collecting the dots, I thought I'd see how far you'd get.
Doc, I got the money. Doc. Came up with much more than expected, see?
No, I had every chance in the world, Ma. A guy can't just let his brother go out to travel knowing he could die at any moment out there.
People like us don't belong together, and she darn well doesn't deserve this money.
Then
Look, I ain't got anybody near as close to her that I want to leave this with. But if it can be put to a good cause, I heard the followers of the apocalypse take donations. Either way, I'm ending up a goal.
My name is Shaun Daws, and I was the announcer in the original series of True Vault Escapades. That was my very first sort of proper audio gig that I've done. That was way back in 2012, I think. And I honestly don't remember how I got started into it. I think that I had done my own stuff. I had a little YouTube channel yonks ago where I did my own little Fallout skits and whatnot, and somehow came across Preston online. I don't even remember how, but we got chatting and auditioned for the announcer role and was lucky enough to get it. So Preston and I worked together for probably about a year on various episodes and whatnot, helped out with a few various small bits as well in the series and in some other projects that he worked on. And from there it sort of blossomed a bit. I ended up being part of some other projects, Radio Boston, Mod, ended up doing a bunch of writing and performing for some remakes of the Outstandingly Awesome Tales comic book series, and ultimately did a Captain Cosmos radio show a few years later, which was a lot of fun, where I got to play the original Captain Cosmos as well as the Ghoul version later on, and had a lot of fun with that. As far as Fallout, I mean, that's really where it all started. I liked Fallout 3 a lot. I basically was obsessed with it when it came out and played that for ages, and just was so blown away with the game and the world that it was created around it and all the lore and the characters. So for me, it was actually Gob that got me into the whole voice acting thing in the first place. I really liked the way the ghouls were portrayed in Fallout 3, and I love the voices and the way they rough things up a bit, and it just really, I don't know, so it sparked something in my brain that I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Yeah, it was good because it helped me learn a lot of stuff about performing, about editing, about writing, all of these sort of things, and it's helped me out in other parts of my life. So I've done quite a lot of voice acting for my work. I work in the events industry, so I do a lot of voiceovers there, not as my main job, but just as a by the by. So I've been a few times the voice of God at large conferences, hear my voice going over the loudspeakers at some of the plenary sessions and that sort of thing. It's been pretty cool. And a lot of voiceovers for training videos and that sort of thing. So if you're really keen and you can figure out where I work, then you can call up and you can listen to my voice on the interactive voice recording when you call up and try to get hold of somebody. So yeah, it's been pretty cool. As far as my favorite character to play, I mean, I love playing the announcer. I think it's fun. I look back and I cringe at how it sounded, but, I actually really enjoyed trying to sort of develop the original voice, the old school radio announcer voice from back in the day. I probably can't even do it anymore, but it was a lot of fun. But I think every character's been really fun. I've enjoyed just approaching each role, trying to find a voice that works out well for that particular character, throwing in a couple accents and that sort of thing. And I think until I started doing it, I never really realized how much actual acting is involved in it. I think if anything, when you're only using your voice, you really need to put a lot of effort into, convincing the listener that they're there and immersed in the story. I love that aspect of it. I love hearing, how it comes out, especially after editing and layering in sound effects and that sort of thing. It sounds really good. For me, the favorite episode, actually, I think the first one. I remember listening it for the very first time and just being amazed at how well it had come together. I remember hearing Walter's voice for the first time and just thinking, wow, that's just like the perfect voice for that character. I said the storyline was great. The sound effects again were really good. And I just remember being carried away by the whole storyline and just, plowing through that first season, episode by episode as they came out, and even having been part of them and not really seeing all the bits and pieces, how they fit together until the actual episode was released was exciting because you can sort of see how your contribution, helps out the whole. And yeah, it was it's really interesting. So yeah, for me, the first season was definitely the best one because it was such a revelation that this could be done by a bunch of randos on the internet, just having a bit of fun and putting something out there. It's just amazing to me now that how many seasons in, how many years later, and it's still going strong, and it's just getting better and better, and the quality and the production quality of it is just so much better than it was even back then. And it's really a testament to Preston and how well he's gone through and really created this whole brand and storyline. And yeah, I've just loved the entire experience. As far as parting words, for me, I think just try some stuff. If this is something you enjoy doing, just get in there and try this. There's so many communities online. There's so many ways you can contribute. It doesn't even, if you don't want to hear yourself online, that's fine. Put your hand up to do some editing or to help with the writing. There's so many different pieces of it that you can contribute for, and just you don't have to be an expert. Just try it out, practice your skills, get better at it, and you can be part of something like this as well. And it is a lot of fun, so highly recommended. Anyways, thanks again to everyone who's sort of supported True Vault Escapades since the beginning. Thanks again to Preston for putting together such an amazing project, and I really look forward to contributing down the track.
I'm starting to dislike you more and more as this conversation goes on. You waved a sure thing in our faces, and what do we get? Snake oil. What do you want us to do next, huh? Go shooting up surprise in a broad daylight? I'm all ears, you little rat.
I know both of you have uncovered some of the most gruesome perils the wasteland could throw at humanity, so I'll just cut right to the gritty. He seems to be having quiet discussions with himself, but he was rather persistent about the contacting of you both. Yes, however, the town seems so far from us that none of us would expect such a rapid influx of violence even over here. Every day it's something different. Oh, that's excellent. Finding one friend may just be all we need. I'm willing to wait for the full report.
Huh? What's that? Huh? Can't hear you. Gonna need to speak up, bozo. There. Now, that wasn't so hard.
Hi, my name is Eileen Anglin, and you may remember me as Dr. Usanagi and Candace Masterson, or you may remember me as Ada Johnson from the BioShock that Preston did. It was Ada Johnson. Yeah, so what do you think about that, girlie? I had so much fun doing all of these characters, but my first love is Ada. I mean, wow. He wrote that entire BioShock. It was so incredible. As an actor, the writing does most of the heavy lifting for me, in my opinion, especially as a voice actor. If the character is really fleshed out, if the story is exciting, I'm in it. And I was in that. It's one of my, to this day, even all of the other projects that I have done, that is definitely one of my top characters that I love to play. I don't remember where I met Preston. I don't remember how we met Preston. It seems like I've known him probably since 2018. I think we were up and coming together as voice actors. I don't know. I don't know how we fell into each other's sphere, but we did, and I'm so glad that we did. I've had a lot of fun doing his projects. So my background in voice acting was, I've actually have a theatrical background, film, TV, stage, since I was a teenager. And I studied Shakespeare in London for a short time. I studied in New York, Philadelphia, but actually it was Fallout, the Fallout franchise and Mass Effect franchise that made me think, maybe I could do this. There was a period of time where I had my own radio show, and people would always say, you should do voice acting. And I was a gamer first. I've always been a gamer. What it is about games, and the reason why I wanted to get into voice acting, is because of the stories. I love the stories, the storytelling. So, for example, when Preston wrote the BioShock, the audio play, it had such a great story, and that's what I always gravitate to. What happened for me is I moved away from New York City area, and I still wanted to do acting, and voice acting just seemed like something I really wanted to explore, and I did. Since then, I've gone on to do Call of the Arbiter, the raid Call of the Arbiter, which was an amazing experience. I've done the Mortuary Assistant, Ghost Runner Project Hell, where I played the character Hell. Also the original Ghost Runner, I played Hell. Dying Light, Edge of Eternity, Magic Legends, and I've also done some film and TV, most notably recently The Fuse, which was actually in the consideration for Academy Award. So that was an amazing experience. Been in The Hunt, Showdown, done fun projects like Sim Settlements. Sim Settlements was also very fun. I did a lot of DLCs for that. The character Pandora, Odette, Warframe, Somerset Isle, Star Wars comics, Dying Light 2, Fallout New Vegas, Walking Dead comics, just the fun, geeky stuff that I love to do. Because at this point in my life, if it's not fun, I don't do it. Because we only get so much time in a day, and we're only here on this earth for a short time. If I'm not excited about it, I don't do it. And I'm very lucky to be in a place to be able to have that choice. Absolutely. Very grateful for that. I think my favorite installment of Fallout is Fallout 4. And the reason for that is I love settlement building. I love micromanaging. I love building the settlements and making sure everyone is clothed and fed. I eagerly await the next installment of Fallout, and Bethesda, please don't let us down. Before I wrap up, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's supported this work over the years. The fact that these characters and stories mean something to you really does mean the world. I'm grateful you've taken the journey with us over these 10 years. The fans are really what keep these stories alive, and it's always amazing to know the work connected with people and connected us. As a voice actor, I spend a lot of time alone in a booth, so hearing that the work resonates with people out there is very special, and I truly appreciate it.
Well, Camry, we thank you for at least trying. We'll radio in if we pick up any leads.
I then made my way up to New Vegas, though halfway there I was recruited to the Brotherhood of Steel. They changed my life forever.
But what that man had on him was very important to the NCR. We've been tracking him for days now. Keep that open file, and make sure you don't utter this to anybody. Understand?
Retribution for what mankind did before the bombs had fallen. Cleaning up the mess, destroying mutants by the dozen.
You didn't move the bodies?
We didn't want to sully the crime scene.
I came for you. Not to rob, not to kidnap, but to kill.
You, on the other hand, that, my foolish friend, will be the leg we drag you through the dirt by.
But what's done is done. I didn't take any pleasure in the matter if that helps float your boat.
Here, Walter, the job is done.
Hey, I'm Jacob Goldfarb, and I play Slater, Eddie, Colonel Shu, and some Legion characters on True Vault Escapades, as well as Bobby and Kyle on the BioShock audio show. Well, I started doing voice acting in high school and college, doing various game mods and local commercials, and then moving on to short films we put through film festivals, and movies, including Miss Whitelight and a film out of India called Rajaga Vori Rajaga. I was definitely a fan of the Fallout franchise coming into the project. I first got New Vegas when it came out. The guy at Target had told me not to buy it because it was buggy. I gave it a try. At first, I didn't get it. I thought the entire game was just Goodsprings. Wasn't too familiar with open world games at the time. But I play that game every year since it has come out. How did I first get involved with True Vault Escapades? Well, back when I was in college, I was doing editing projects and putting my voice out there just to get practice. And I was doing it a lot through the Fallout New Vegas modding community. And I think I saw a post calling out for voice actors from the True Vault Escapades page. And I just shot him an email, and the rest is history there. My first impressions, when I first saw it, I loved it. I thought it was super fun, but the passion that the creator has for the show, I rarely see somebody that ride or die, and I think that's just really special. I love seeing this project grow, and it's just always super exciting. Well, as much as I love playing villains, I can honestly say that I enjoyed playing Bobby and Kyle on that BioShock episode the absolute most. It was so much fun just kind of basically talking to myself and having a transatlantic accent, I believe, for Kyle, if I remember correctly. That was always a lot of fun. Do I have any parting words for everyone? Abolish ICE.
Must be an important mark to have you going out this far. Chances are, she's got you robbing a company, dropping off a suspicious package, or hunting a bad guy or something.
Listen, you two. I don't know who you are, but you're attacking a member of the NCR. Lower your spears and walk here carefully. Hey, I warned you.
He's working with them, Bunny. He may not have had heinous intentions before, but something happened in between. You must understand here is that as long as you are out there, every moment presents a risk that the Enclave can and will snatch you from your home. I can't bear it happening to you.
Atone for his sins in the Mafia by playing second fiddle to the Overseer? He got what he deserved.
Yeah!
Yeah!
Strap in, you three. Never saw myself saying this a moment ago. Well, let's go home.
Hey everybody, my name's Austin Rodgers, and I am a recurring voice talent with True Vault Escapades, as well as the Modus Files and other productions. And on True Vault Escapades, I have played Jaren, Private Miles, and a whole other slew of characters. I couldn't name them all off the top of my head, but I'm sure I'll just let Preston do that. So to go into my background in voice acting, growing up, I had always loved animated shows like, Batman the Animated Series, Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy, to name a few, were just some of the people that inspired me to get into this. And one day in 2021, the Modus Files creator Lawrence McNamara actually put out a tweet asking for someone to voice a small character. And I always have a lot of recording equipment lying around. I'm a musician, and I said, all right, I'll just go for it. And he liked what I did, and I just been doing stuff on and off for them ever since, and eventually I was able to get on with Preston after being a fan of his show for so long. I think it's kind of neat that I started out as a fan, but now I'm actually part of the show. It's been a really great experience. Preston's become a really good friend of mine, and he's such a talented writer. Now, in terms of other projects that I've been a part of aside from True Vault Escapades, let's see, we've got The Modus Files, written by the talented Lawrence McNamara. There's the Reaper series, which is a murder mystery set in the game of Sims. And I have also done voiceover work for the YouTube channel Curiosity Corner, which covers information about various subjects, like fun facts, etc. Little 60-minute short videos. And I honestly couldn't name all the other ones that I've been a part of. I would need a whole other hour just to name everything that I've done. And it's only fitting that I would get into a hobby like this related to Fallout after being a fan of the game for so many years. Now, I know there's people that have been fans of the game since, the very first one came out in 1997. But it's been a while for me, so we're just going to go with that. My first game in Fallout was Fallout 4. I had watched one of my favorite YouTubers, H2O Delirious, do a Let's Play of it, and so I asked for it for Christmas that year, and I got it, and I think my oldest save now, probably about 40 days in game, 40 days in real time racked up together. And I'm sure there's people out there that have way more than that, but it's a lot to me. Then I've spent a lot of time on 76. It's how I met the gang from Modus Files, and I'm very thankful for that. A lot of fun memories there, a lot of lifetime friendships with that. Now, in terms of how I got involved in True Vault Escapades, it was a little after I had done a few more roles for Lawrence at Modus Files that I started working up the courage to do more projects. And just before that, I had developed a little bit of a correspondence with Preston on Twitter, just saying like, hey man, I love the True Vault Escapades. I had the very first introduction to the series, a 5-part thing where Walter goes to the vault and meets Bunny, and then Draco, Friendly Deathclaw, all that, just awesome. I listened to those over and over on repeat until I knew just about every word everyone was going to say. And eventually it came out that, I had done stuff with Modus Files, and so Preston one day was like, hey, do you want to voice this one character? You don't really have any lines and you get killed pretty quickly, but I was super excited to do it. I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was in the Legend of the Star series on the Slater that Alan Marks, spoilers, that Alan Marks shoots in order to get more Blue Star bottle caps. But it was a lot of fun being like, oh, hey, the Walter and Bunny are, mentioning my character. This is awesome. In terms of, my first impressions of True Vault Escapades, I was wowed from it from the beginning because, I knew of radio plays, old-time 1940s soap operas, gangster things, etc., but I'd never knew of people doing that in modern time. When I thought of podcasts, I thought of people just sitting around, talking about conspiracy theories or serial killer lore, stuff like that. So I was kind of wowed and just floored by the idea that someone could create that in this modern time. And Preston always just puts so much effort into everything he does, every single script that I read. I try not to read too much outside of my lines because I don't want to spoil myself, but sometimes I can't help myself. And it's just incredible to be a part of it now. And in terms of my favorite character that I've played on True Vault Escapades, that would probably have to be... This is a tough one, because I really liked playing Jaren. I put a lot of work into that. I'd probably have to say Officer Jensen in the Lost Concept episode where Walter goes to Vault 101 instead of Vault 54, and he's playing, this crooked vault guard who's trying to help the Enclave. And I don't want to spoil what else happens during the episode. You'll just have to go and listen to it if you haven't already. And I think if I had to choose a favorite episode, I'd probably either be that or probably the last 2 episodes of the Cage Chronicles. Because, even though that's not full-on Walter and Bunny story, that's still some of my favorite things that I listened to. I played a lot of people in those roles in that series. It was just a lot of fun to do. Again, Preston, I know you're going to be listening to this. You are so talented at what you do, man. Please never stop. The Fallout community would be a dark place without you. And lastly, I think I just want to say it's been really awesome to be welcomed into this lovely fan community. I hate that I haven't been able to come out to any events like the ones that they have, the in-game locations, in West Virginia, or the Fallout fan celebration in Good Springs, but I'm sure that'll change one day. And hopefully I get to meet Preston or everyone in Modus Files in person. And I think I also just want to end with, don't ever doubt yourself if you want to do something like this. I know that sounds cheesy, but before starting doing voiceovers and voice acting, I'd always had a long time insecurity with the sound of my voice. But I said, screw that. I'm not going to let that thwart me from something that could potentially be really fun and transform to something bigger. Now here I am, almost 5 years later. Like, God knows how many roles under my belt and a lot of friends to show for it. I wouldn't trade it back for the world. That's my thing. Do not let like a moment of temporary relief and comfort, from not doing something that you're afraid to do, like, get in the way of that, because you never know what you might be missing out on by, just conquering that fear. But I think that is all for me. This has been Austin Rodgers, signing off. And listen to True Vault Escapades.
Then I'm going to have to ask you to remain open, Detective.
All right. I want to see all guns down and hands in the air. I'm coming down.
You can either stay cooped up in this shack until Carbon decides to evict it as well, or you can take this job and rub the winnings in their face. What do you say?
Hey! Put your hands up.
No. They got the dame on me.
You bet your keister they did. Now put down the burner. You're cornered.
Guess I am. But you're about to be.
What a wild ride that was. Well, it's kind of a long story. The vault I'm from is in the Texas Commonwealth. I had to leave not too long ago, though. Can't save the world cooped up in there, right?
I'm just a radio announcer.
Which means you should have the inside scoop on just about everything that goes on around here.
Nice work on that fancy little court hearing, Bunny.
All in a day's work. You know me.
War never changes, does it, Bunny?
No, it certainly does not. It's time to part ways. Bunny. You can call me Bunny.
Hi, my name is Amy Harris, and I was the first actress to play Bunny. I didn't have any previous background in voice acting. This was my first role, which is explicable because I was 14, I think, when I started playing Bunny. I remember being so nervous in advance of my audition, but I was not a trained actor, and I think you can tell listening to the earliest episodes. And I really haven't acted much since. I can't say that I've been a part of any notable projects, which makes this a really disinteresting interview. Most of my projects are in realms outside of voice acting. The closest I can get is, most recently, I've been playing a 7-month-long prank on a coworker, which involved, at its height, writing, directing, and editing a short horror movie. I joined this project because I was already a huge fan of Fallout. I heard about the project through, I believe, a Fallout fan forum. If I wasn't already listening to Atom Bomb Radio, I discovered it through True Vault Escapades, but I think I heard about both on a Fallout fan forum. For me, my favorite Fallout game is probably Fallout New Vegas. I think the world building in Fallout New Vegas is just unparalleled. The setting is really compelling. It's got the best companions, in my opinion. But really, I've enjoyed so many of the games, and it was my introduction to this broader project. Because I didn't have any previous acting experience, it's not that I was looking for roles or anything like that. I was just moved to participate because of my appreciation for the games. And so I remember sending off my email and requesting a sample script, and I recorded my audition in the closet of a hotel room. I was at like a technology conference at the time, and I remember trying to get my roommates to shut up so I could record it. And I was so surprised when Preston got back to me saying that with a little bit of tweaking, the part could be mine. I've always been a fan of audio plays, audio dramas. in general, and I really enjoy them as a component of world building in games like Fallout and games like BioShock. And so I thought that this was the perfect medium of like a fan project. And to see how TVE has grown beyond this initial fan project has been remarkable. I mean, it's really taken on a life of its own. And it was already quite a singular vision to begin with. I can't think of any other examples like this. The way that a radio play dovetails into this podcast sort of format, it feels very intuitive and it feels so apt for the game. I could not have been more excited at the prospect of True Vault Escapades when I first read about it, and that's how I just felt I needed to be a part of it. At the beginning of the series, when I first began to read for Bunny, it was clear that Preston had a very clear-cut idea of what her character ought to be. Not only are you pulling in these ideas of femme fatales from all kinds of legacy media, but also she is ultra competent, but she's also a fish out of water when she first approaches Walter at the beginning of the series. It was fun to watch her character kind of grow into her own as she becomes more adapted to the wasteland. But I remember feeling like I had big shoes to fill. I was sort of setting the tone here, bringing his words to life. And so I felt that there was, if not pressure on me, that I was setting the mold for this role. And Bunny is interesting because there have been multiple actresses to play her, and I think all have brought really wonderful qualities to the role, beyond what I could have envisioned by myself. I feel so fortunate to listen to their performances, and it is always kind of funny to hear an acting choice or something like that, or even a vocal quality, and be like, why didn't I think to do that? But it has been really wonderful to watch both the character evolve and to hear the wonderful work of the actresses who came after me. I'm so glad they were able to carry on her legacy beyond anything that I feel I could have done, and it's been such a pleasure to hear. My favorite episode, at least to record, or the one that was most memorable for me, was A Vault in Ruin. The collaboration with Mr. Matty Plays, it was really exciting. It felt to me like, wow, we've made it. We're interacting with other sort of Fallout content people. That's a really reductive way to put it, but I can't capture the excitement I felt at feeling like I was a part of that now. It's easy to feel a bit in isolation in this process, like it's a big project where Preston is putting all of these pieces together. But when I was recording these, especially that first season, I was literally sitting in a greenhouse, recording into my mic because it was the only place I could get some quiet. And I remember when I got the script for A Vault in Ruin, it was of a greater scale than anything that had been written for the series so far. And I was like, it felt like graduating to a new level. I do miss playing Bunny quite often, but given my lack of professionalism in setup, in comportment, in obeying deadlines, things like that, I really do think that it was for the best that the role has moved to other actresses. One sort of consequence of my janky recording setup in that greenhouse, I remember there was a certain threshold, like where more and more screaming was called for by the scripts. And trying to figure out what time of day would be least obstructive to scream into the mic was a whole runaround. I do remember once like mistiming it and seeing somebody walk past with their dog. I really hope they didn't hear me, yelling out bloody murder. I've had trouble listening to the first couple of episodes just because I feel like Walter Camry, like Eric Huffman's voice as Walter, is so remarkably consistent. But when I hear that first episode, all I can hear is myself a decade younger. It's crazy to think that it has been 10 years since the start of True Vault Escapades, but for me, I definitely hear a teenaged version of myself trying to sound grown up. And I'm glad that it was plausible. I do, however, just hear, I hear 14-year-old me whenever I listen to them. I'm grateful that the subsequent actresses who played Bunny could bring literal maturity with them to the role, but also acting experience. I think they have been able to bring her to a level of characterization and depth that as an amateur, I don't think I could have ever hoped to achieve. And I think it does a greater service for the series at large, especially as it's grown into a universe of its own. I am not an actor. I have not really pursued acting after participating in this. Actually, I've ended up as a chemistry student. So this is a time of my life that I remember very, very fondly, but feels very remote or so distant. In one way, it hardly feels like it's been 10 years because I remember so clearly how I felt when I was recording these scripts. On the other hand, I look at my life then as a teenaged Fallout fanatic and I compare it to my life now. And I won't say it's unrecognizable. That person is still inside of me. It's just really disorienting to see how much has changed. I guess to sort of close things out, I'd like to mention how much I look forward to the future growth of True Vault Escapades. Preston is always outdoing himself with more and more ambitious projects. The crossovers have been wonderful, and watching the response from the fan community has been so heartening. Even if I'm not directly involved right now, it's just been, it's incredible to see the outpouring of love and support from all of the fans, and also to just to my personal gratification. Like I was a part of this in a small way at the very beginning. And so I hope that True Vault Escapades continues to grow and expand within the next 10 years and beyond that. Regardless, I will always feel a great fondness for everyone that's been involved with True Vault Escapades and for everyone that has listened and supported along the way. What I wanted to say to close this out is that the truth is the game was rigged from the start. But, given all that I just said, it feels like something can exceed your sort of cynical expectations and continue to grow. And I think the positivity of the Fallout fan community that this was born out of and the fans that True Vault Escapades has picked up over its 10 years in action, well, I think it's a really beautiful thing. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So I guess that's all I have to say about my part to play in True Vault Escapades, and thank you for listening.
I did some investigating on my own during the gunfight, believe it or not. No gun I know of can shoot that fast in such little time.
Well, honestly, Detective, I feel sicker than I was before. That just shows you how much pent-up hate dwells in this man.
Oh, Walter, it's been nothing short of a blessing. After the firefight, me and the townspeople gathered together and made a game plan. All that time, all those losses, I was thinking with my heart, not my head. That's why you helped yesterday happen. A push I didn't know I needed.
Here's the deal, friend. You took a risk and it went bust. That's why it's called a risk.
Gloria, please don't.
Don't follow me.
I won't. Just don't kill me. Gather our best weapons and split the men in half. I want an arsenal. You hear me? An arsenal! These vipers just bit the hand that fed it. Nobody messes with Mary's marauders like this. Nobody! Hello, my name is Cari Scholtens. I am a voice actress with True Vault Escapades. I have been on 23 episodes. I was kind of surprised by that number, actually. For almost 10 years now, I've been involved with True Vault Escapades. And it has been an absolute smash, and I've so enjoyed it. A few characters I've played over the years have been Sage, Tech Sergeant Reyes, Dinah, Jane Morris, Miss Balsa, Marie, Gloria Van Graff, and my all-time favorite, and I'll get into why she's my favorite a little bit later on, but is Mary from the Knife in the Back case. My background on voice acting is kind of a strange journey, actually. I've always been kind of a video game nerd, a nerd in general, really. I am a high school teacher by day. I teach 9th grade algebra. But I also happened to, about 10 years ago now, maybe 11 years ago, I won a contest that BioWare put out to be a voice artist in the then upcoming Mass Effect Andromeda. I sent in a sample of my voice. I read a script that they had as a part of the contest. Apparently, over 16,000 people entered, and myself and one other voice actor was chosen. I was incredibly honored and just ecstatic to be a part of this franchise, which I had already played and absolutely just loved. And that's kind of where everything got started. I got to meet some really cool people out there, including both leads of the game, Frida Wolf and Tom Taylorson, and several of the supporting artists as well. And the director, all of them just so kind and so welcoming. And when I got home, I thought to myself, I'm gonna try to do something more with this. And I ended up buying myself equipment, a very, very rudimentary set of equipment. I think I spent about $250 on the whole setup. And I thought to myself, if I can just make my money back, I'll be absolutely thrilled. And from there, I got into a lot of actually kind of pro bono work through castingcallclub.com. And that is where I and Preston crossed paths, I believe. And he reached out, wanted to see if I wanted to play a small role in one of the True Vault Escapades episodes, and the rest is history. He just kept having me back, and I just kept coming back, and it's just been a wonderful, fun, exciting, and varied roller coaster all throughout. I've just absolutely loved it. Other notable projects, obviously, like I said, I am in Mass Effect Andromeda. I played Jill, who is Gil's friend that you can interact with if you play your cards right and make the correct dialogue choices, of course. I'm also a background character throughout that game. You can hear me in the the headquarters. You can also hear me. Apparently, somebody told me I'm in the multiplayer section of the game. I'm the human female infiltrator, which is apparently the first ever unmasked or unhelmeted multiplayer character in the game. So take that for what it's worth, but I thought that was pretty cool. I am also in a role in the most recent Farming Simulator game, Farming Simulator 2025. I play Katie, the animal husbandry girl. So if you want to know anything about silage or other animal care tips, check for me there. That's always a hoot and a half. And I was very honored, obviously, that Giants reached out to me and have given me my flowers. I've been in several mods for different games. I've been in, I've read about 16 audiobooks now, I believe I have out there. If you want to hear a lot more of my voice, a lot of volume. And I've also been a character in Zephon, which is it's a video game in the same vein as Command and Conquer. And I play the Erelem Assassin. So that is also available on Steam. And I am potentially working on a few other projects that will be soon available on Steam that I cannot disclose until the time is right. Was I already a fan of Fallout? I was definitely a fan of Fallout from my very early days. I am one of the few, the proud, that actually played Fallout New Vegas first. And I gotta say, I just fell in love. It was just such a cool, quirky experience with, the setting. I always love that kind of post-apocalyptic vibe anyway, but just like the music and the monsters and the voice options and just there was nothing not to love about that game, and I so enjoyed playing it. And from there, obviously, I played Fallout 3, and then years later I dove all the way deep into Fallout 4. I have definitely sunk a few hours into that game. Honestly, my all-time favorite is Fallout New Vegas, just because, again, it was my first, and the characters are so, going back and playing Fallout New Vegas now is like visiting old friends to a certain extent. And I was actually, a couple of my students actually asked me the other day, what's your favorite Fallout? And I told them it was New Vegas, and they heartily agreed. So New Vegas is kind of remaking the rounds. I don't know if it was recently for sale on PlayStation Network or what is the deal, but a bunch of them are all of a sudden playing it again and enjoying it and loving it. And this is like today's teenagers spoiled rotten by beautiful graphics and unbelievably long games and in-depth games are loving Fallout New Vegas. And I think that that's a testament to what a good gaming experience that was, and just the creativity of it and just all of that stuff. I so enjoyed playing it. Yes, my favorite installment was definitely New Vegas. How did you first get involved in True Vault Escapades? Well, I think I maybe touched on this a little earlier, but Preston reached out to me almost 10 years ago now about possibly playing a very small part in one of the episodes. As I look back now, let's see if we can find out what episode it was. A very small part in the meantime, about just a couple of lines, and apparently he heard something he liked. Oh yes, Walter meets Draco, the friendly Deathclaw. Apparently I was a slave girl, so take that for what it's worth. Apparently I did an okay job, and Preston kept having me back, and bless his heart, his faith in me is wonderful and affirming, and I'm so proud to be a part of it, and I hope I do him proud as the parts he's giving me keep increasing, and not only in volume, just like number of lines, but also kind of like the emotional demand. The most recent character, or one of the most recent characters I played, Mary, was pretty intense, an emotionally intense voice acting job as they go. And so I have been just so blessed and so counting my just like I've been so lucky to be a part of this. My first impression of True Vault Escapades, well, at the time that I got that original role, I was doing a lot of little bit parts. So sometimes I would hear my work if the people were kind enough to like send it directly to me. But very often at that time, I would just sort of send the part off into the ether, and I would never hear anything about it again. Whether that was because people just didn't ever end up finishing the project I had read for, or just because they didn't ever send it to me and I couldn't find it myself. But Preston was kind enough to send me a link to the original episode. And I remember thinking, like, this sounds so professional, and no denigration on Preston whatsoever, but he's just a guy. He's a creator, and to hear this stuff that he puts out, you would think he has a whole creative team behind him. And I suppose you could call the actors that work for him a creative team in a sense, but as far as the editing and stuff goes, you would assume he has a lot more people working on these things than he does. And it's so well put together and so well edited, and the music is so nostalgic that it definitely feels like the radio shows of old. I mean, it definitely has that same vibe as radio shows that families would gather around at 7 p.m. after dinner to listen to as their main form of entertainment. It feels like that. And again, to kind of be a part of such a kitschy, interesting project, I feel so very fortunate. My favorite character to play. Well, so I've been kind of dancing around this. So far, my favorite character to play has been Mary. And again, that is in the knife in the back case. Mary is a leader of a band of raiders, and Walter is undercover with them. And Walter starts to kind of fall for Mary, whether that is romantic or just believes in her cause, I think is maybe a little bit up for debate. But at the same time, I think that it really grays the line that I think for Walter oftentimes is a little bit more black and white. Walter is our protagonist, and with the help of Bunny, of course, he is out to right the wrongs and to do good. And I think that in his undercover work, ultimately he started to have sympathy for these people, for this group of otherwise probably could be viewed as villains. They are very against the NCR. They are very anti-establishment just in general. And spoiler alert, in the end, it does not end well for Mary. And playing that scene was kind of hard. I'm not a crier, but when I read that script and was reading that last scene, it kind of hit me in a way that I didn't expect. I had read the script and I thought to myself, oh wow, this is okay. Wow, this is a good one. This is a heavy one. But then as I got reading the end of it, it hit me. And I took probably another 2 or 3 takes to get through the last little bit, because it was just so human. I think it was such a reasonable way for everybody to be feeling in that situation. The NCR didn't do anything wrong. They were defending their territory, and they were, protecting the people as far as they can tell. And Mary ends up going down in an effort of protecting her people. And in the middle, with a 10,000-foot view of everything, is Walter. And the idea that Mary discovers who Walter is at the very, very end, before any kind of reconciliation can be made, and as essentially she's taking her last breaths, it's tragic in an almost classical sense. And again, yeah, I know I'm yammering on, but it was just an honor to be a part of just really, really good writing like that. And I do regard that as really, really good writing. That's also my favorite episode for that fact. Again, I'm a little selfish, but Mary has been one of my favorite characters to play ever. And so I do love going back and listening to that episode, and such honest, real performances from all of the other cast as well. And that's really fun too, to see all these other, all these people coming together to make something from nothing. In general, I just admire that. And I have, again, been just so fortunate to be involved. And as far as parting words, to the audience, thank you all so much for the love that I see in the reviews and such. It's definitely does me proud to be involved in such a project that clearly has kind of taken off and meant something to so many people. And to my wonderful other castmates, far aflung, thank you all for, again, being on this amazing team with me and with Preston, and making something from nothing with our creative minds and using our talents to do that. And of course, to Preston, thank you so much for having me on this wild ride for almost 10 years. For 10 years. I cannot put into words the length of time. When you reached out to me with the 10-year anniversary thing, I was like, oh man, well, geez, I don't know, he's been doing this for 10 years. And then I looked back at my first role, and it was one of the first ones. It's been 10 years for me too, and I didn't even realize. And I mean, I just think that's a testament to time flies when you're having fun. And this has been so fun. And so much more. And I just have to thank you, Preston, from the bottom of my heart. This has been just absolutely delightful, and such an amazing creative outlet. And I hope to continue to work together in the future. And to the audience, one last time, keep listening. There's, if there's one thing I know about Preston, it's that there seems to be no end to his ideas and his creative mind with regards to old Walter and Bunny. And I am really looking forward to seeing where this thing goes, and hopefully, again, getting to be a part of it. Thank you guys all for listening, and I hope to have you hear me soon.
The man of the hour. And who is this?
And you? Phoenix, weapons specialist, incendiary enthusiast. Me and Aurelia done some jobs together in the past month.
I must say, I'm flattered to see you fight this hard to visit me like this again.
Don't flatter yourself, Johnson.
Okay, how about this? A language you can all understand. 50,000 caps for those who pull the trigger on this woman. You played the game well, little rabbit. But the wolf still caught you in the end. Well, I can't exactly vouch for myself being the best anymore, can I? If you don't put a stop to these cultists right now, we might as well get used to these ambushes. This is the Schaefer house. And nobody leaves the Schaefer's house without the family say so.
That'll do it. Everyone back away, quickly. You already knew what you hired me for.
All right. Hello, everybody. So my name is Patrick Jaxxis Conway. I am a podcaster. I am a father. I am an idiot. I am a voice actor. And I started out in internet radio over 25 years ago in a little place called climaxradio.com with 3 X's. One place you never ever got to fake it. We used to go on there and I would do kind of like a crank anchors thing where I would make fun of people on the phone, that kind of stuff. I also did multiple different music genres and I would have fun with people in the audience. But there was a point where I lost my passion. And once I lost my passion, I just kind of got out of media altogether. And one day I found this little, I've always been a fan of Fallout. I got into Fallout a long time ago. There's a story, that's one of our episodes on the Fallout Roundtable podcast about my buddy who bought me Fallout 3. And we played for almost a whole summer and whatnot. And then he actually passed away and it was kind of a rough deal for me. But that being said, I've been a pretty lifelong fan of the Fallout universe, and I ended up finding this podcast called Mind Fog, and it's like a diary of somebody's experience in the Fallout universe. And so from there, I was kind of getting hungry for more content, and I found a Chat of Fallout 76 podcast, which is created by Kenneth Vigue. And I got so enthralled with this storyline that I was like, I wanted more, I was trying to look for more. And what I did is I contacted Kenneth Vigue. Strangely enough, he actually answered me. Turns out we are pretty good friends now. But he had me get in contact with Tom, or also known as Robots, who is the creator of the robotsradio.net network. He is a podcasting networker who's actually grabbed all of us together and kind of smashed us all together in one big network. And it's all Fallout based for the most part. There are many, many, many other network podcasts in the network that are not Fallout based, including some of his own stuff. He does, D&D Lorecast. There's, the Mass Effect Lorecast, which is really popular. And then, of course, there's anything Bethesda oriented is pretty much in there. I would say go down to the robotsradio.net network and join their Discord, because that's what I did. I joined their Discord because of Kenneth Vigue, and I was looking for more content, and I found it in a big way. Once Upon a Wasteland was in there at one point. I think they've branched off to go do their own thing now, but they're still doing their podcast. It's just not part of the network anymore, but that's another story, I guess. The Robots Radio Network, I found my buddy Maverick, who I kind of told him, like, hey, I'm kind of getting a spark. I want to get back into doing some media. And he kind of talked me into being one of the hosts of the Fallout Roundtable, which is something he was trying to create. He didn't really know where he was going with it. And so me and him started working together a little bit. And then Sassy Lady and Gingerino and Romer all kind of came on board, and we kind of gelled like right away. It was kind of strange. And then, we started to get going on our stories, but I was looking for more content. I wanted to do something else and I wanted to try something new. So I was like, maybe I can act in one of these things. I'll give it a shot. And there was an opportunity for a role in a podcast called The Modus Files. And I don't know really how I got involved. I think Maverick told me about it or something. And I sent a message to Lawrence McNamara, who is the creator of The Modus Files. And he was very generous. He gave me an opportunity to, try out for the role. And oddly enough, he gave me the role. And long story short, he was happy and he was impressed by my ability to manipulate my voice and do things with my voice. So he suggested that I go to a website, casting call. I don't know if it's .com or what, but it's Casting Call Club. But you go there, you sign up. And from there, I was able to find many, many other roles. And I actually ended up at one point in a DLC, which was the... what is it called? Havasu Blues, I believe it's called. I play the Dr. Julian Mendez in that, which was weird because, you're doing like the lines you're doing on that was like, talking about certain elements of the game, but you would say certain things that were part of like people had to click and like make decisions. It was a little weird doing it that way. So I've played multiple roles in the Modus Files. I've been Beckett. I've played the role of Frederick Rivers, and I've played quite a few roles in the Modus Files. You can find all that stuff on the EMBD thingy-jiggy for whatever it's called. I don't know. People are famous, I guess. But they got me in there somewhere. I have a profile. If you go to the True Vault Escapades on that EMBD, I think that's what it's called. Is it? EMDB. That's what it's called. I'm sorry. Anyhow, so I was looking around for more, and I came across True Vault Escapades, and I started listening to it, and what an amazing show. Like, it was so cool because it's like listening to an old radio serial, like, Lone Ranger or Dick Tracy. I can't remember which one he said he panned himself after. I've never even heard of Nick Kane or something like that. I don't know. But it was really interesting. And I was like, wow, I'd really like to get a role in one of these. And I don't think I went the normal channels because I tend to not do that. I think I hit up Preston directly and I'm like, look, man, I'm a voice actor. You can check out my stuff. I sent him some things and I think I tried out for a role and he just hooked me up. And as far as what roles I've done, honestly, half the time I don't even remember. Once I started into the voice acting genre, I kind of just took off and started doing everything and anything I could get my hands on, especially Fallout oriented. I played a doctor in Once Upon a Wasteland. I don't even know his name. Don't care. It was fun. And that's what this whole thing is. It's a fun experience. I got to meet some of the greatest people I've met in my life in the Robots Radio Network. And from there, it's like just branched off from there. Do I have a favorite episode? I don't think so. I love the ones where, Bunny gets, kidnapped and, Walter's got to go and hunt her down. I don't think I'm even in those, but it was the experience of watching the dynamic between Walter and Bunny and the growth that they had. And it was just a great experience to see where the character development would change. Because, he's been doing this a long time. And from the beginning to like now, I think they've changed every role except for Walter's maybe 3 times. And it's it's hard to see how seamless some of it seemed to be. Like, you don't even notice sometimes. Sometimes you'll notice, but it's very subtle and very good. Well done. Preston is an incredible writer. I couldn't say any more great things about the guy. He's a pleasure to be around. He's a pleasure to work with. I like having him on my show. He's fun to have around. Gosh, what else do you got as questions here? Who is my favorite character to play? I think it might have been the Enclave officer. I played this Enclave. I don't even know if it was the Enclave officer. It's the one where I've kidnapped Bunny and she's in the backseat of my car. Or actually, she's in the backseat of her car because I think I stole their car. And then she ends up killing me by flipping the car and she stabs me or something like that. I don't remember. I just die. I die in everybody's stuff. If you go and check that out, you'll find out I die quite a bit. It's kind of my thing. Yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of my journey. I don't really know what else to tell y'all. I'm funny without trying and not funny when I'm trying. So, Anyway, any parting words for everyone? Just listen. Bounce around. Don't just listen to True Vault Escapades. Listen to all of them because there's so much that you can gain from these stories, and they're so rich and they're so inviting, like all of them. The Modus Files is a great show. Omega podcast was a good one. True Vault Escapades is kind of a jewel of its own, though. It's something that you won't find in any other one of these podcasts. And that's because of the style that Preston brings to it. And it's been nothing but a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. My stupid, goofy ass. All right, bye.
We'll return after this. True Vault Escapades is now a radio mod for Fallout 4 on Bethesda.net and The Tale of Two Wastelands on Nexus Mods. Listen to hours of Walter and Bunny's adventures on your Pip-Boy radio today. Consult the links in this episode's description below. And now, back to our story.
Hello, my name's Ethan Walsh, and I have been the editor and sound designer for True Vault Escapades since late 2020, starting with the case of the Masked Spectre. And right up to this anniversary episode you are listening to right now. My background was mostly in video editing. I studied television production at university, but even before that I've always been interested in editing in one way or another. I used to make Lego stop motion films, even when you're making films for yourself, like at that level, at that point, you are editing for yourself. I even got into like editing fake trailers, there's a bunch of fan Indiana Jones trailers out there on YouTube. Just like taking like dialogue from Indiana Jones games and then using like clips from the movies on top of it. Obviously, I've also done video editing for True Vault Escapades with the Star Wars trailer, the Cage Chronicles Machinima trailer, and the Star Wars like Flash Gordon style crawl. I also do some writing. Right now, I'm in addition to editing the next episode of True Vault Escapades, I'm editing my own post-apocalyptic audio drama project. But I won't talk about that here. Was I already a fan of Fallout? I have never heard of Fallout, but it's been like 6 years, and I'm in too deep now. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how much longer I can keep this lie up. No, kidding, of course. I've been a fan of Fallout since around 2018. My favorite in the series... See, that's a hard question because they are all so different. Obviously, I love New Vegas, which goes all out with the blending of genres. It's like, it's a war movie, it's a western, it's a mafia crime drama. And the DLCs are just like flat out fantastic. Dead Money is probably the best piece of Fallout media, in my opinion. Like, just its characters, the stories, the themes of letting go, and just the setting is just like it's amazing. Fallout 3 has a great atmosphere, and the art direction is just like just so good. The design of the world, and it really feels like you're just walking through this like emptied metropolis. I guess like it's that's a retro futuristic thing, and you're like. It's almost surreal. That's not anything. I'm going to cut that. I've played about half of Fallout 1, and even that half I played was just fantastic. It's a great introduction to the world of Fallout, sort of like introducing you to like this, you start off like leaving the vault, which is like all clean and stuff, and you go through the cave, and then you're out in the open desert, and then you come across like Shady Sands, which is like this medieval town. They've got this like giant obelisk in the middle, and it's like, yeah, it's medieval in a way, but like also surreal and fantastical. And then as you go through the story, it drip feeds you the weird elements of Fallout, and it wears its inspirations on its sleeve with like inspirations from 50s sci-fi or Mad Max, but like it never falls into like a parody or pastiche of those inspirations. However, if I would have to pick a favorite Fallout game, I guess it would be Fallout 4. it's not the most well written of the Fallout games, and some of the gameplay elements are annoying. I'm not a big fan of settlement building or Radiant quests, but it was my introduction to Fallout as a series, and it was also my first open world game. And I think what struck me about Fallout 4 was it was very different to other post-apocalyptic settings. You see other stuff like Mad Max or Book of Eli or The Road, and you have these like really desolate wastelands. Sometimes the colors are so desaturated, it just looks really, really dire and dreary and dark. But like with Fallout 4, it's like this big open New England countryside, and like the colors pop. The vault suits are like really bright and blue, and the cities are all like metallic and like it's a really colorful world. As I was saying, like the New England countryside, it looks a lot like where I grew up. So it makes the whole thing feel very bittersweet. Like even though it's like this emptied, dilapidated world, it's also very colorful, and it's that juxtaposition that Fallout has, where it's like a cheery world that once was smiling its way to oblivion, and now that world is gone. Yeah, and with that first playthrough, that was the introduction to the whole genre blending that Fallout is really good at, that I mentioned. It really does feel like a world where anything could happen. And I guess to bring it around, it very much introduced me to the giant canvas that Fallout has. You can tell any story in Fallout, the Fallout world. With Fallout 4, you got the sort of crime dramas of Good Neighbor. You've got like the sort of political journalist drama of Diamond City. Then you've got like the Railroad quest, which is pretty much like Star Wars, where it's like these guys, this ragtag team fighting against like this like unstoppable enemy force with the Brotherhood and the Institute. It's just a lot of fun. So I think I first came across True Vault Escapades as I was looking to get into audio dramas. I had been listening to a bunch of old Star Wars radio plays for research. This would have been around mid-2019. So, loving Fallout, I was curious if there were any Fallout audio dramas out there. So I searched old YouTube, and I saw all these episodes of this show called True Vault Escapades. I think then I was just like, I skimmed it a little bit. I was like seeing like, what is this? Like, is this like a sort of Nick Valentine spin-off? But I was impressed with how many episodes there were. And because this was my second year of university around 2019, I was thinking like, I'm never going to get enough time to listen to all this. So that was 2019. And so 2020 happened. And I had a lot of time. So much, in fact, when Preston put out a call for editors, I decided to, throw my hat into the ring. I think there was one editor who got the job before I did, and then I came in on the Masked Spectre. And I've worked on pretty much every episode since then. And it is funny because, like, I very much feel like the new guy. But I've probably edited more than half the episodes at this point. So I guess I should dive into the process of how we put episodes together. So typically Preston will message me saying something like, another episode needs your edit. I'll mark it on the Google Drive. First things first is sorting the dialogue. Originally Preston would cut the dialogue beforehand, but around the time of the Cage Chronicles finale, I think his laptop blew up or fell into the ocean or something. So since then, the dialogue edit is usually handled by me. For future episodes, we're probably moving away from me doing the dialogue edit. I know for the next episode, which is being written by Joshua Belmonte, he's been cutting the dialogue for that, and he's also done some sound design for that. So yeah, for future episodes, I probably won't be doing the dialogue edit. The dialogue edit is essentially just gathering all the lines the actors have recorded and then cutting them together in sequence as they are in the script. This involves picking out the best takes and deliveries, making sure there are no missing lines, pretty much figuring out the pacing of the dialogue. All this is done very early on. It can be a little bit tedious, but it's always really fun to hear, like, the script you're reading come alive through the dialogue this early in the process. And there were some fun elements to this as well. This is like a fun time to play with the dialogue. I remember in the Case of the Martyred Mothman episode, in the script, Rube Darkwing, the villain, introduces himself as Rube Darkwing. That's his name in the script. That's the only name you hear in the script. But Roxanne Fleetwood, who played Rube Darkwing, improvised saying Reuben Darkwing, because Reuben's more of a normal name. And that was cool because Eric Huffman, who plays Walter, you know this, the delivery of him saying, "Oh, nice to meet you, Rube," was really cool because it sounded like he was mocking Rube Darkwing, calling him a Rube and all that. And it just added a little bit of character to that story. And then after that, everyone calls Rube Darkwing Rube. And I think that's a nice little thing that wasn't in the script, but like seeing the actors just play with the dialogue just adds a little extra something to the finished episode, which I really liked. So after all the dialogue is cut together, I'll do some quick adjustments to the voice files, some cleanup, getting rid of background noise, making sure the dialogue is roughly to the same volume. The quality of the recordings determines how much work this takes. But I basically try to get each voice actor's lines to sound as close to each other as possible, just so it's not jarring when characters speak despite being recorded on different microphones. EQ is definitely my friend here. I know Preston has talked about in the past, he used sort of the old-timey vinyl radio effect filter to cover up, all the different sounding microphones. By the time I came aboard, he wanted to move away from that. And to be fair, I think that old radio filter did get the job done, and it was a quick and easy way to, get all that sorted. Though loud noises and gunshots and explosions will kill your ears with that filter. Another effect that's really useful to have like characters sound like they're occupying the same space are reverb effects. This helps, it's adding that like room echo, and it really helps emulate the idea that all these characters are, they're talking in one room in the same space. So once all that is sorted, the real work begins. This is where all the sounds get added, and here I just try and follow the script as close as I can. I start with the ambience, room tone, building up the setting of the scene, and then I add the sounds to emulate the actions of the characters in the script. Depending on the scene, this can be either really simple or very, very, very complicated. Something like a simple dialogue scene, for example, one where Walter and Bunny are just walking and discussing a case. It's usually just ambience, room tone, a few cloth sounds to emulate their movement here or there, and maybe some footsteps. I try to give characters unique footstep sounds. I don't know if people actually notice it, but but Bunny usually has high heel shoe sounds, Walter has dress boots, and military characters like Humphreys I give heavy boots. Again, I'm not sure if people pick up on this, but as a great ghoul once said,
"Well, I do this shit for the love of the game."
Now, that's the simple scenes. However, True Vault Escapades is anything but a simple show. Listeners of the show will know that the series has its fair share of big action set pieces. And, oh boy. So if you read the scripts of the show, you know that Preston writes these beautifully detailed action sequences. Whether it's Walter and Bunny being chased down a mountain by crazed cannibals, Cage scaling up an icy mountain while being shot at by an unseen sniper, or the NCR engaging Mothman cultists in a deadly gunfight. All these sequences take a lot of time to figure out, sort of piece together, and in a way choreograph them so they will work in the audio medium, as, well, there are no visuals to go off of. I try to make it as clear as possible, because it could be so easy for the listener to get lost and confused. Even though there might be a lot of sounds described in the script, I kind of try and keep it pretty toned down. Not just so there's not so many sound effects that the listener can get confused and lost. It's like jazz. It's the notes you don't play. Is that a jazz thing? I don't know. I often reuse a lot of grunts and efforts from Walter and Bunny's previous episodes, just so it like really sells like they're engaging in the action as described on the page. So once all the scenes are sound designed and fully edited, I'll play around with panning. You'll often hear it if you're wearing headphones, that is, that some characters will be on the left and talking to characters who are on the right. I do this to simulate some space, so it's like the characters are talking from opposite sides of the room. This also helps in action sequences. I can have bullets fly across the soundscape, whizzing from left to right, or characters running across the scene. Again, it might be too much detail. Like, do people notice it? I don't know. But, love of the game. So the last thing usually is the music. And I think this is the most fun part. So I usually leave this last. Sometimes I do cutscenes to music, which can often help with pacing, but I don't do that as often now. We used to use old Hollywood film music, stuff from the 1940s all the way up to the early 70s. But nowadays we try to use mostly royalty-free tracks, so we don't get sued. My approach to picking music is usually to see what fits the tone of the scene. It's whatever fits the scene, of course. The genre is usually sort of like, jazz, noir stuff. I try and keep to that sort of vibe with the royalty-free tracks. Royalty-free tracks are a pain because most of the time they're like just trying to be too epic, and it just doesn't work as, background music for an audio drama. It takes a lot of time to figure out. Sometimes I'll try to give an episode its own musical continuity. If you look at episodes like Ghost Town Blues, I reuse a theme to give the Legion a sort of leitmotif, or a special meeting where I used a theme from an old spy show as, Lou and Smokey's theme, which worked as this fun buddy cop vibe that episode was going for. I used the theme from the old The Shadow serial as the Silver Shrouds theme, just because, it's obvious that the Silver Shroud is a reference to The Shadow, and I thought it'd be fun if we just used the Shadow's theme for the Silver Shroud. There's a piece of music with a prominent somber saxophone tune that I used in the Gentleman Bandit episode, just to highlight that character's doomed yet romantic nature. And that's pretty much everything that goes into editing an episode. I'm usually pretty tired out by the end of it, so after I send that off, I go have a nap for a week afterwards. The most challenging episode. Well, if you heard what I said about action sequences, you can imagine it's the episodes with a lot of action that are most challenging. I remember reading the script for The Case of Morgue Mountain, and then I read, there are these cannibal villains who, they don't have any dialogue at all, and they communicate with sign language. Sign language, a very visual action in an audio medium. And I remember reading that and just like, are you flipping kidding me? But no, that was an interesting challenge. And, I think I pulled it off. I added sort of clapping sounds and hand pats along with some grunts to simulate the way these non-verbal characters communicated. But hey, let me know if that actually worked. So yeah, back in 2020, when I first started on True Vault Escapades, I was editing roughly 15-minute episodes. And now, cut to 2026, and we've just wrapped on a 3-part Star Wars special, with each part almost being a feature-length movie. For that, I should give credit to Joseph Kelly and Mike Tyson, not the boxer, for being a massive help with those 3 episodes, as they both contributed hugely, laying the groundwork for the sound design and cutting dialogue together. It saved me a lot of work and a lot of headache, so a massive thanks to those guys, as I'd probably still be editing those episodes now if it wasn't for them. So editing for True Vault Escapades is a lot of work, but I do find it quite rewarding to see, like, you know, the episodes come out when they're fully finished. You know, once I've had some distance from editing them, I can go back and listen to them just as a fan of the show myself. My favorite episode. I'll firstly talk about the episodes I haven't edited, just so no one thinks I'm biased. I love the Case of the Mutant's Bride. I think that's a really nice tale with a great bittersweet ending. Obviously the original 5-episode run is a classic. That's just classic True Vault Escapades. It's a really great adaptation of not only the Nick Carter style radio drama, but also Fallout in itself. It's a really good way of melding the two genres of, like, a detective show and the sort of Fallout retro future thing, while also being like its own thing. Like a post-apocalyptic detective show in itself is, like, that's a novel concept, you know. It's not True Vault Escapades, but I love that first BioShock audio drama, 12 Days to Midnight. That's probably my favorite of Preston's writing, because, you know, just seeing all these different characters and their stories leading up to, like, that big event we all know is coming, if you've played BioShock. And the structure of it is really interesting, like seeing, like, going through all these different stories, but you know how it's just gonna play out for them. But yeah, okay, I'll talk about the episodes I've edited. I loved the Cage Chronicles, like, both listening and editing them. It's a bit of an understatement to say I'm a big fan of Westerns. And once again, Preston, like, you know, plays with that genre blending. You know, introducing a episodic structure inspired by The Mandalorian, a show I really love. The first 2 seasons of, at least. But also, like, but it also feels like an adaptation of your typical Fallout playthrough, you know, going from place to place, doing side quests. It's a really fun little detour in the Escapades averse, if you will, or not. I also love the multi-part tale of the Legend of the Star, where there's, like, you know, there's that big cat and mouse chase of Walter and Bunny chasing Alan Marks down across the Mojave. Just this guy being a real nuisance and a menace to everyone. Joshua Belmonte's episodes are always a treat to listen to. You know, their throwback to, you know, pulpy crime, and yeah, they're just very fun, you know, and they have their own little continuity built within the series. That's always fun. But if I had to pick one episode that stands out to me, it'd be The Scourge of Benny. Like, what an episode. That one was a real joy to edit. I think it's one of Preston's best paced scripts. Like, you know, really well structured. I think Lane Leather's performance as Benny is, like, really top notch. Especially when he's trying to rally the boot riders to his point of view. I think the episode really captures, like, the ruthlessness of Benny that we see from both the opening of Fallout New Vegas and the All Roads comic. Especially in the bookends of the episode, like, set in the Tops Casino. It's pure Kino, my friends. Pure Kino. Okay, parting words. If you couldn't tell, I wrote notes for everything else here. I didn't write any notes for the parting words, so I'll just do this off the cuff. I feel like I haven't talked about Preston too much. Thanks to him for, you know, creating the show. He gives me a lot of creative freedom in the editing process, which I always really appreciate. He's also very collaborative with any ideas during the edit. So, and obviously his scripts are great. Like, you know, he's writing feature-length episodes every season, and, you know, he like, you can tell he really loves storytelling, not just through True Vault Escapades, but, like, you know, his Shiver House channel. He's always happy to answer all my questions about True Vault Escapades lore. So, just an all around great guy. I've been editing this special, and, like, you know, everyone has nice things to say about Preston, so that's... Sorry if you if you're getting bored of everyone saying how great you are, man. You know, the cast all do a great job. Consistently great performances that really sell the emotions of the stories. What else? I don't know what to say. I guess to the listeners of the show, you know, I hope I'm doing a good job with the edits. Hope you're liking that. It's good to see the the show has its fans. I read the comments on the YouTube videos and Spotify. I do peek in there and see what people are saying. It's always nice to see the positive comments. I should probably be more active on the True Vault Escapades Discord. Don't pester me about the next edit, or I'll tell you who dies next season. I think that's it, you know. I don't need to sell you. If you're listening to this, you already listened to the show, so I don't need to sell you on the show. Yeah, I really should have written some notes for this. I mean, I've probably let this ramble too long, haven't I? This is probably one of the longer interviews. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for continuing to listen. I hope this was interesting, and have a good day. I'm just going to stop it there.
I thought I heard a familiar tune. You belt them out better than an abusive father. All because we won those fights doesn't mean we'll keep playing in the long run. You have to keep your losses small, or one day you're going to wake up to only a handful of us left behind.
Agent Walter Cameron, this is Officer Bailey aboard the bridge of the Executor. You are hereby ordered to dock your ship within the minute and relinquish all weapons once you do. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear.
Stop bitching about the old days and enough with the songs. Keep it novelty, and you and I can stop meeting like this. Understand? I mean, what the hell are we even working for at the end of the day?
For survival, you ignorant prick!
Exactly! Survival! Just to live another day and wake up all over again in this fucked up dust bowl. I don't know about you, gang, but I'm tired. We deserve more than just survival, don't we? Hey everyone, my name is Lane Leathers, and I have had the great pleasure to play the role of Benny in True Vault Escapades. I am in the United States, I am in the Pacific Northwest specifically, I am an audio nerd and a general millennial, so there you go. What is my background in voice acting? I actually had kind of a missed connection with voice acting way back in high school. I loved video games, I loved anime. I was not a drama kid or anything like that, but I was one of those weirdos who would just sort of walk around and have half conversations out loud with themselves in weird voices. So I was interested in doing voices, but I didn't really have an actual outlet for that of some kind. And so at one point I went to this anime convention, and one of the panels was on voice acting. And part of the panel involved the audience reading some scripted lines that they had, and the panelists would give feedback to the audience as though they were auditioning for a voice acting role. So I got in line, and then as I got closer and closer to the front of the line, I got more and more nervous, and then before it finally came to my turn, I chickened out and stepped out of line. So there is a timeline out there where I stayed in that line and became a very famous voice actor, but that is not this timeline. But fast forward, 20 odd years, and in my professional life, I started doing voiceover for e-learning products. And between getting a lot of positive feedback and really enjoying the production process, about a year and a half ago now, I decided, maybe I should try some hobby voice acting. And I hopped on Casting Call Club and just started putting auditions out there. And since then, I've gotten to participate in True Vault Escapades, and the other big notable project that I have had the opportunity to participate in is this ongoing audio drama series called the Eldritch Episodes, which are these rad audio drama adaptations of cosmic horror stories. And then I've also had other various roles here and there, mostly in audio dramas and animation projects. I'd love to do some video game work someday, but honestly, just getting to be involved with things like TVE and the Eldritch Episodes has been a blast. So, was I already a fan of Fallout? And if so, what is my favorite installment and why? So yes, absolutely I was a fan. I played the first 2 Fallout games more than once, actually, way back in the day. And when Fallout 3 was announced, I got to ride the hype train for that modern generation of those games. But I think as far as my favorite installment goes, it honestly kind of depends what sort of experience I'm looking for. The first two games were these seminal works that brought in these post-apocalyptic settings and ideas like, Mad Max and A Boy and His Dog and things like that, and then mixed them with this Monty Python-esque kind of absurdity, which was just a delight. And then you had Fallout 3 come along, and it created this bridge to modern gaming that just sort of laid the foundations for like the mechanical video game-esqueness of Fallout 4 and 76. But I think my favorite installment, and it always feels like a cop-out to say my favorite installment is New Vegas, but my favorite installment is New Vegas. It so faithfully carried the torch that Fallout 3 lit. It gave us the choice between the NCR and the Legion and Mr. House, or just giving the finger to everybody. And then the impeccable DLC, whether it was the absolute bonkers insanity of Old World Blues, the terrifying vibes that got put out in Dead Money, or the genuinely thought-provoking ideas and conversations that were being had in Honest Hearts and Lonesome Road. Like, just between the base game and the DLC, you could experience everything that Fallout has to offer in just New Vegas. So, yeah, New Vegas is my favorite installment, and I stand by it, even if that's the cop-out answer. So, take that. How did you first get involved in True Vault Escapades? Well, when I decided to try the hobby voice acting thing, like I mentioned, I got on Casting Call Club, and I was just tossing auditions around for things that sounded like fun. So, I saw this Fallout-related project, and I thought, well, yeah, that'd be fun. So, I auditioned for a few different roles in the project, and this was one of the first things that I had submitted auditions for. And then I actually got selected for the role of Benny. And I think by the time I actually got selected, I had by that point done a few small projects, and most of them didn't actually make it out of production, which unfortunately is not that uncommon. So I was excited to be involved, but I wasn't really getting my hopes up. And then Preston got in touch with me and gave me this script. And it was an honest-to-God script, which was definitely the first time I'd been giving something like so thoroughly written. And I had this thought like, oh shoot, this seems actually pretty legit. I'd better make sure to do this right, sort of thing. So I recorded my lines, sent them back to Preston, and shortly after I got his reply, and he said he appreciated what I'd done, he'd keep me in the loop about the status of the episode, and then he'd be happy to consider me for future roles if I wanted, which, awesome, cool. Baby voice actor, getting positive feedback. I loved it. I should say, at this point, I had not gone and consumed any of the True Vault Escapades or any of the other Fallout audio dramas, so as far as I knew, I just had this project runner saying, hey, good job, buddy, thanks for participating, and that was kind of it. My expectations were really non-existent at that point. I was just happy to be involved in this creative project, and it had been a little fun for me to record, and that was that. So fast forward a couple of months, and I get another email from Preston saying the Escapade Extras episode, The Scourge of Benny, had dropped. And I went and listened to it, and I was not prepared. I was excited when I got to read the script and then record the lines and think, well, dang, this is cool. This is acting. But when I actually went and listened to the episode and I got to hear myself integrated into this story that was so much the product of the exceptional writing and the editing and the outstanding performances of all the other voice actors, like Baby voice actor had this delightful joy meltdown, and it was just this incredibly rewarding experience that I was truly grateful for and truly not prepared for. So after I finished melting down over The Scourge of Benny, of course I went and binged through the entire back catalog of True Vault Escapades, and I was like, oh, that's how you did this amazing thing. You've been doing this for years, and you just extended grace to me to let me hop on for the ride. So yeah, I mean, first impressions of True Vault Escapades, I was delighted, because not only had everyone been creating something that I enjoyed listening to, but now I get to be a part of that? Like, hell yes. So, I mean, just as I was listening through it, it became my commute listen, right? Any time that I was driving, I would have True Vault Escapades on. Walter and Bunny are terrific. I don't think I will ever not be delighted by Eric Huffman's Humphrey Bogart as Walter. The Cage Chronicles were fantastic. The crossover episodes are always great. I think as far as my favorite episodes go, like I'm obviously biased toward the episode I got to play in, the Escapade Extras, The Scourge of Benny. But I think my other favorite episode in the series is probably The Case of Morgue Mountain. I couldn't tell you why. I guess cannibals get me, I guess. So, who is your favorite character to play so far? So far, Benny has been my one major character. I've gotten to reprise that role since Escapade Extras, so I'm excited for that. I have done at least one other small voice with just a couple of lines, which is also just fun to sneak in the background, so to speak, but in an audio kind of way. And then there is another character that I have voiced for a future episode that I don't think I would say it's a favorite character, but that's only because the character is just a truly horrible person. So it was the sort of thing that was fun to voice and to flesh out, but definitely the sort of thing that afterwards I needed to go like wash out my mouth and like do something nice and fluffy afterwards. So favorite character I voiced so far, Benny is definitely it for me. Parting words, just thank you and congrats to Preston. Thank you to all of the other incredibly talented folks behind True Vault Escapades and the other Fallout audio dramas out there, just for being an inspiration to baby voice actor and such a welcoming bunch of folks. Thanks to the community of Fallout fans who are also into audio dramas out there, because the fact that the community exists is a huge part of why these projects happen and can continue to happen. And yeah, keep the wasteland weird, y'all.
Who are you?
We need to talk.
Oh, you're shitting me, right? Good old Cage.
Be glad I didn't gut you like your friend back there, Cage.
And you might be?
Felix Costa, Caesar's Legion Centurion.
Whoa now, whoa.
Show yourself.
We don't want any trouble, sir. You work for the blonde. Girls, scram for a minute. We got business.
I'm giving you a chance here, motherfucker!
Kid, if you were even remotely serious about shooting me, you would have already done it. Red! Come out, Red. There's nowhere you can run now.
Just when I think I saw everything in my ears, something even bigger and uglier crawls out of the ground.
No need to worry about me. I consider myself one of them.
What's up, everybody? This is Mike Tyson. You may know me mostly probably as Cage in the aptly named Cage Chronicles. Just want to start off by saying very happy birthday to True Vault Escapades. You've come a very long way. I know I've only been with the team not too long. Let me see. To 2021, I think. Yeah, that was when I joined. I joined in 2021 with the Legend of the Star when that was happening. My first role was a classic Brit by the name of Windle Cabin, an eccentric Brahmin caravaner, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and that was my first foray into the True Vault Escapades universe. Been on quite a journey since then. Not long after that, we did the BioShock crossover. I played Stanley Poole and another character in that one. And that was just a great script. That show, that episode came off so well, and that was quite emotionally draining. That role, there was a lot of stress to that character. It was crazy. And yeah, not long after that, working with Preston, we unveiled the Cage Chronicles with Enter Mr. Cage in 2022. That seems like so long ago now, but it's been so fun playing this character. Honored to have my own spin-off so early after joining the cast. I hope everybody likes Cage. Obviously, he's made his entrance into the mainline story as well now, so that's very interesting to see where that goes. That should be pretty fun. What's my background in voice acting? So I started voice acting, let me see. So I first started dabbling in voiceover 15 years ago, actually. With my YouTube channel, I'd start doing sort of random imitations and dubs, things like that. One of the first things I put up was an Ezio Auditore scene from AC2, and that was 14 years ago. I did a lot of stuff on YouTube, fan dubs, got a start in the Sims machinima community, actually. There's a lot of work going on there. And then a bunch of different things through there. You can see it all on my YouTube if you're interested. It's all very old at this point. But that's how I started. One of my main voiceover projects now is True Vault Escapades. There's not anything else going on at the moment, really. That's where most of my time and focus goes. The scripts are hefty. As Preston knows, the scripts are hefty, so it takes a lot of time and effort to put all your energy into that and making that come out sounding good. And it's only recently as well I started getting involved in the editing side of it, in the audio editing side of it. So I was doing recently, I think it started with the Star Wars crossover. I was doing a bit of dialogue cutting, some sound effects stuff. That was really fun. I've enjoyed doing that before when I did my own voiceover projects. I do the video editing, if there was any. When I was doing, for example, I did a Pokemon parody series, a dark comedy series. So I did all the video editing for that and the sound editing for that, as well as playing characters. So I've got a bit of experience in that, and it was fun to come back to that. I enjoyed that. Just to work with the likes of Ethan, who's a fantastic editor. You can tell all the work that he's put into this, and he knows what he's doing. The episodes always sound so fantastic. Was I already a fan of Fallout? If so, what's the favourite installment and why? Yes, I was already aware of Fallout. I haven't played any of the older ones. I started with 3. Because I think a lot of people probably started with 3. So I have fond memories of that, going back and playing it. Oh, it's aged, doesn't it? It's aged a bit. I'd be interested to see what they do with like a remake or a remaster of that. Probably a remake would be, I think that would be better than a remaster. You can only do so much with such an old game. New Vegas is still probably my favourite. I think a lot of people have the same opinion. 4 looked better, but I don't think it was as good as New Vegas personally. But I'm tempted to go back and play them at some point soon. I think I'll have to. First impressions of True Vault Escapades. Yeah, when I first heard it, the first thing that sort of jumped out was the production quality, the sound quality. It had that old school vibe to it, that tone. Yeah, it still sounded so clear, like it's brand new, it's recorded today, but it still has that essence of the old-timey feel, which I really like. And they've sort of nailed the tone of the era down. You get that classic noir sort of vibiness. I think a lot of that honestly comes from Eric, with his Bogard, his Humphrey. But yeah, first impressions were great. I was really happy to be a part of it. Like I said, I only started with a small part, and since I was in that first one, I was always up for anything else. I've played a multitude of random characters, from ghouls, random people, obviously Cage is the mainstay. So if there's anything that I can do to jump in, I will. No hesitation. So how does it feel to play the first alternate protagonist of the show? Do you have any words of wisdom for any cast prospects or new members? It feels awesome. I know I've covered this earlier about being asked to play a sort of, a main character so early on, which was really humbling. It's an honor. I just hope everybody likes him as much as obviously me and Preston do. So for anyone who's looking to join on new members, I would say the first thing that's important is that you enjoy what you're doing. Just record, take your time, feel the character out, and just give it your all, honestly. I know with some of the cast that we get, some of them are like trained professionals, some are amateurs like me that have just been doing it for a long time. Some people are brand new. And what I like about the cast and the community around it is that everyone's very supportive, everyone's very chill, everyone has fun. So if you're a newcomer, for example, or you might be a bit nervous, there's have no hesitation reaching out, talk to people who have been on the show before for any, if you need any point of support, critiques, you want someone to review an audition. I don't think anybody'd hesitate to lend you a hand with that. But yeah, it's always going to be enjoy it first. The scripts Preston puts out are great, so just enjoy yourself. Who is your favourite character to play out of all of them so far? Well, I can't not say Cage, can I? I can't. Cage has to be tops. I really enjoyed, there was a script done by Joshua Belmonte. The Gentleman Bandit is another one of my most favourite episodes that I've done. I think my top 3 roles would have to be Cage, The Gentleman Bandit, and the Bioshock episode at this point. Stanley. They're the three I'm most proud of that I put the most effort into. That I think the scripts are great. So that's where I'd line up on that, I think. So it leads into the next question, favorite episode. So again, I'd say a top three. So you've got the Gentleman Bandit, the Bioshock episode. Trying to pick one from the Cage Chronicles is a bit harder. It'd probably be after. I think it'd have to be the episode where I shoot Preston in the face, and I think he'd love that. I think so. Preston would like, yeah, that's my favorite episode. Shooting Preston in the face. I think it's episode 2 of the Cage Chronicles. That episode was War Stories. Preston played a little sort of punk guard getting in Cage's face. You know, Cage didn't have time for that. And it all ended nicely. Any parting words? I'd just like to say, again, happy birthday to True Vault Escapades. Yes, I'm British, for anyone who didn't know. I'll throw that out there if you hadn't already guessed that. Cage is obviously American. I want to thank everyone who listens to the episodes. I want to thank everyone who, enjoys any character that I've played personally. It means a lot. I know there are some Cage fans out there, and I love you guys. And I want to thank you for your support on that, but just look forward to what's coming. Season 7 completely written already. It's going through the process now. A lot to look forward to. So keep your eyes and ears open and enjoy. Thanks very much.
Walter Camry, detective of New Vegas. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Another goddamn murder. That's 2 bodies in a 24-hour span.
You listen here, maggot. I could just kill you right now, and I could turn you to hamburger meat for my casino.
Tonight you'll face justice for the crimes you've committed against New Vegas. What's your defense?
There's no need for this to end in bloodshed. I'm indifferent to the prospect of blood, but I do what I must. Gunny Babbitt, the man himself. I gotta say this, though. I was expecting the usual kind of stuff we deal in, not wildlife or whatever they call this thing up there.
I know you probably don't want to hear exposition on my life, but I think you should know some details. I served in some off-the-book conflicts. I took part in many armed battles, and I won every single one of them.
Hi, this is Joshua L. Belmonte. I'm known as the other writer guy. I've written such episodes as A Special Meeting and the Silver Shroud episode. I also have played the Silver Shroud. I played 5 characters in one episode. Most notably, my biggest villain role to date is Lock and Load Larry Lenny, which is like, man, why would you give me a character with 2 first names, Preston? Because I can't figure out which one is first. My background in voice acting. I did voice acting actually as a hobby when I used to work inside of a warehouse to keep myself amused. So usually in the warehouse at nighttime I was alone. So I would do voices to crack myself up and to keep myself from going relatively insane. I don't think it worked very well. It probably didn't work at all. I didn't see the casting call notice for True Vault Escapades, actually. I didn't see that until I saw another project that I was involved in. It was my first cast voice role, actually. I played a few characters in a Fallout radio mod. It was sort of like this. It was like a radio show, except that it was more anthology based. So, for a few of them, I think I played the President of the United States at one point. And another one, I played a robber. The director in that one pushed me to my absolute acting limit. I remember submitting a take and I just could not nail what he wanted. Because when I nailed that take, I was actually recording that at 3 a.m. in the warehouse. No protection at all. For the microphone, it was my laptop microphone. And yeah, I made magic being delirious and exhausted. Just could not replicate that magic again. Another notable project I was a part of. I've been a part of a lot of Fallout mods, Most of them have been pretty good, I would say. Some of them haven't been that great, the experience. I was in the Frontier, if you guys have heard of Fallout the Frontier. Yeah, none of us had any idea any of that was part of the mod. I don't think any of us would have said yes if we knew that was part of the mod, to be honest. The day that news broke about all of the controversies, a lot of the guys said we don't want to be involved in this. And I just asked an innocent question about it and did not end very well. Was I a fan of Fallout? I would say yes, I was a fan of Fallout. I briefly saw my dad play it when I was younger. I don't remember which one. I just remember it being really fucked up and edgy. And as a kid in the 90s, you know, that we loved going to the extreme. My favorite installment, it's as cliche as it is, it's New Vegas. Just because I just love the aesthetic of it. I think that the old world bomb shelter aesthetic combined with the casinos and all that during the golden era the mafia ran Vegas, it's just a chef's kiss. I think they really knocked it out of the park with the setting and characters. I first got involved with True Vault Escapades, seeing a couple casting call notices, and I got cast. As a voice actor, you know that when you get cast for something, especially for like indie roles or anything that's non-paid, you are basically rolling the dice if it's actually going to go through or not. I was hoping this is one of the projects that would make it through and actually see the light of day because it looked interesting. Plus, he put up multiple episodes to cast, so I'm like, yeah, I hope it goes through because, man, I just spent a lot of time doing my lines for you, buddy. And, when I saw the casting call notice, this was after their first initial season, and I also missed the machinima, the Fallout machinima that they did. This was season 2 when he was rebranding it as the Strip. A lot of the roles that I got, I think I recorded them out of sequence, because that's how I was cast. I was cast in different roles, and the episodes were in different production order. It's really odd. So canonically, I think my first role I did was the comic book creator, and I think that was one of the roles I recorded last, actually, for that season. One of the first roles that I remember recording, I think it was for Lock and Load Larry Lenny. I could be wrong there. Preston could correct me. I do remember him asking me, hey, do you want to do this character and that character? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Did not know I was in the same episode. And I do believe that there at one point is an episode, the one at the circus, where I am talking to myself in a scene and sharing a scene with myself. I don't think I could ever, in my wildest dreams, do that again. But who knows? Maybe there's time for that. Eventually, actually, after season 2 of The Strip, I actually got a little bit more hands-on involved and was about to do sound design. For those of you out there, sound design is not easy. It's, for a lot of people, you can do things differently. It's kind of like a director when you're directing a scene. A sound designer can interpret a writer's words differently, put up different sounds there, make it sound different. So, I do have some file saved somewhere of my raw original takes of I forgot which episode it is. I think it's Curse of the Golden Scorpion or something like that. That was a pretty cool episode. But that was taking forever, man, because my computer just kept crashing and crashing when I was doing those scenes. It was a rough couple of months for the show. I remember me and Preston were clashing so much we almost had a falling out. And after that, once he found someone to do the sound design, it mended our little rift. And it was pretty good. And then towards last season, he let me write a few episodes, which is thank you, man. Thank you for letting me get my creative outlet. Not in my wildest dreams that I think I'd be writing for Fallout. With my episodes, I tend to try to write a little bit of the weirdness that I love in Fallout, just adding in some little details and stuff, some niche things that would be really bizarre in that wouldn't be so bizarre in that world. I think I remember writing a Hawaiian themed bank just because I think that would be something that fit into that world. I would say one of the toughest things about sound design for the show is trying to figure out like the character steps. Each character for me, you want them to sound distinct. So that's like something I do a little differently. I think sometimes I think about the little things a little too much, and sometimes that's why episodes that I do take a little bit more time to come out. But also, I'm a really busy guy, so I've had a lot of life events during my time in the show. I met my girlfriend, got engaged, got married, got my master's degree. So now that I have less going on, I think I can do more for the show, and I definitely want to do more. What was my first impression of True Vault Escapades, and what do you think of it? I'll be honest with you. When I saw True Vault Escapades, I thought it was pretty good. The sound quality, I was like, I dug the old radio quality with the old mic grain, and I thought it was a stylistic choice. He can argue with me that it is, but in all honesty, it was to cover up for the fact that a lot of us voice actors for the show had really bad microphones, and it basically was to mask that. And also, Preston does hate doing sound design, not his cup of tea. So basically, that was his way of just making sure the episodes get pushed out quicker. But that's just neither here nor there. That's just hearsay for me. One of the more fun things about the show is that I've seen people do cosplay for it. I think at fan conventions. Man, thank you guys for that. That's really cool. It's cool to know that's something that that I've had like a hand in, being represented out there, and the fact that other people are just like feeling comfortable dressing up as two characters that are completely unknown to like other people in Fallout. More power to you guys, especially for Preston. He put himself out there with this idea and this universe. The show itself, I just love the Nick Carter detective vibes that Preston does, and he shows how versatile he is. You guys have no idea how fast this guy can write, though. He had like most of season 7 written in a span of like 5 months, 5 to 6 months. He wrote most of this season, and I think he already has like a few episodes for next season planned and a little bit written. So I'm still playing catch up. I think I'm writing like 3 episodes next season, and I don't think I have the speed of Preston. That man is a speed demon in terms of writing. I can never, in my wildest dreams, probably even come close to his work ethic in terms of writing. The man just knows and loves his craft. You can definitely tell when you hear the shows how much he loves his craft. Who is my favorite character to play? That's a tough one. I did really like the gray character, the gray alien that I played, because fuck, who wouldn't want to be an extraterrestrial? But I mean, as cliche as it is, my favorite character is Lock and Load Larry Lenny, true crime buff. So I do love the Public Enemies era, and I kind of tried to play him off as one of the Public Enemies. I wouldn't say maybe not like John Dillinger, but a little bit more of a bloodthirsty one, maybe like Babyface Nelson. He's not around, right, guys? You can't hurt me. Okay, good. Yeah, I wanted to be like somebody rough, gruff, and tough. I was thinking when I was doing the voice of like Edward G. Robinson, James Cagney, something like that in the Fallout universe. So I got a chance to do that, and man, that was pretty cool. Yeah, it won't be the last you'll see of him. Definitely not. I can't tell you when you'll see him next. But he's still out there and he's still lurking. I just love the little references that he's probably one of the biggest criminals in there besides Mr. Casket. And he's probably appeared in less episodes than Mr. Casket, but he has his hands in everything. Oh God, a favorite episode. That's tough because I love Preston's episodes. I would say Legend of the Stars, one of my favorite ones, just because how does he have like enough material to write that many parts for an episode when I can't. I struggle writing like 5 pages. This man has so much detail and so much love and passion into these projects, you can tell. And I think that one is his magnum opus in terms of like writing, sound design, voice acting, everything. Just everything clicked on all cylinders on that one. Out of the episodes that I wrote, I think my favorite is A Special Meeting, just because I wanted to try something a little different. My episodes have a tinge of tragedy in them. A lot of the characters die, but in this one I wanted to do something based off of like screwball detective comedies that I think would be a change of pace. And it's morphed into like a dark comedy because it involves cannibalism, white glove society, all that sort of fun stuff. But at the end of the day, I think that that's probably going to be like the episode I'll probably be best known for, just because I managed to craft 2 characters that were Walter and Bunny that the fans loved in Lou and Smokey, and fuck, man, that's really cool. That is really cool that the fans just said, man, these guys are funny. I will say that when I first started writing for the show, it was actually to give Bunny more of something to do, because in season 2 she was more of a damsel in distress kind of thing, sort of like a throwback to the old school radio serials where the woman usually is in distress, usually doesn't have much to do. I wanted to give her something much more to do because I just think that she's a cool character, sharpshooter. She shouldn't be taking shit from nobody. So that's usually my sort of thing with it. And if he bases his episodes off of like Nick Carter, I usually base it off of like crime pulp novels that I read. So stuff like The Friends Eddie Coyle, Get Shorty, Leonard Elmore, that's more of like my influences. And I try to keep the dialogue and pacing based around those kind of written novels, but I'm not beholden to it as well. Any parting words for anyone? I would say that, we've done the show for 10 years. If we didn't love it, we wouldn't have lasted for 10 years. What keeps us motivated is you guys, the fans, the listeners. We do it for you guys just because we love to hear what you guys have to say about the episodes, all that hard work, all of that, all of the praise and criticism. We do it for you guys. And I just can't believe that we made it to 10 years. Not because that I didn't think we'd make it that far, but it's just, holy crap, it's been 10 years, 10 years of doing this show. And it's been an honor to have done it with a friend. And you think that you've seen everything. You haven't seen nothing yet. This is probably one of our more ambitious seasons yet. And I can't mention much more except that hopefully the Christmas episode will be out by the holidays. We've been like kicking around an idea about a Halloween episode and it just never like falls. We've had so many ideas about Halloween episodes too. Well, hopefully one day that'll come. I've been like pestering Preston to do like a Grindhouse style where it's like one of like we both like write Halloween episodes non-canon and we just bring it out like show it back to back. Hopefully that'll come, but that's not for this season. Yeah, so this season's gonna have a holiday episode, and there's so many other episodes that I can't even talk about. I did voice lines for a few of them. I can't tell you which character I was, but you just never know. You don't know which character I could be. And that is the fun part, the mystery. We just hope that you enjoy this season and the many more seasons that we have. We're already in the process of pre-production for season 8. We've started writing and pitching ideas to each other. So we're just a well-oiled machine right now. And I'm just glad for all of his success because this man deserves it. Thank you, Preston. Thank you for the 10 years, brother.
You got a name, miss?
Bunny. You can call me Bunny. Tell us what you creeps are up to, and I promise I won't aim for the other leg. Do we have time for this, Camry? Just be ready to buy me an atomic cocktail after we find the man's charred remains, okay? Any history of soda-based psychosis in your history?
Of what?
Crazy. Just keep the public glossy-eyed as you usually do, okay? That's all you gotta do. I love Detective Camry, Jaren. Tell me all you know about his past, but never take control of me. You hear me? Never again. All this time, just to protect the truth. And how well do you think that worked out? I almost died today, Walter. This all could have been avoided.
How did you?
I was the best shot in my vault. Hello, everyone. My name is Krystal Romero. I am 33 years old and from New York City. Voice acting has been something that I've been really interested in doing for a while now, but I didn't really get into it until my very early 20s. My first taste of voice acting, or at least being around other voice actors, was actually a convention, an anime convention, back when I was 14 years old. This was in Jacob Javits Center before it was how it is now, where I can't even breathe walking through the showrooms, or I'm shoulder to shoulder with people near shops. It was a little more breathable. And you didn't have to pay. At least the show I went to, we did not have to pay for autographs. I was really, really, really into the anime Soul Eater, and the voice actress of the English dubbed version of Soul Eater was Laura Bailey. And prior to Soul Eater, I've heard Laura Bailey in a whole bunch of other things. I would catch her voice in a lot of different things, and I'd be like, wow, who is this girl? So, like, I heard her in Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball. I played the Blood Rain video game. I think she was Rain. I watched Fruit Basket. I mean, like, she has such a plethora of characters, and, you know, these are her earlier ones because I was a little younger at the time. I loved her in Detective Conan. I loved her in Kodacha. She was everywhere to me. It felt like that was such an amazing job. Like, every single thing I watched, I heard this girl's voice. So back to the con, I see her there. She's there. We can get autographs from her. And I was a little nervous. I was actually cosplayed as Maka, which is her character. I go up to her and she tells me that my cosplay is really cute. I was, to this day, a very great memory that I have. And I always go back to, like, I talked to Laura Bailey and she told me I was cute. Oh my God. And then I just asked her, I said, hey, I know this is probably a long question and probably not something that you can answer me right now, but my only question I have after this autograph is, how do you get into voice acting? Like, what do you do? And she says, there's a lot into it. I think you'll have a better response if you speak to the manager of Funimation right over there. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, let me go talk to him then. And I just had to speak to a voice acting legend, in my opinion. And now I have to speak to this guy who I have no idea, but okay, let's give it a shot. So I speak to him and he tells me the scariest advice I think I could have ever heard as a fresh, again, 14-year-old girl. I think I had just turned 14 because the con is in October and that's when my birthday is. So he tells me, oh, you want to get into voice acting? All right, yeah, that's no problem. But, you know, when you go into those booths, you have to say the first line immediately correct. Otherwise, they get upset with you. And I was just like, oh, mind you, this is the girl who would stutter while reading out loud in class, and it would get scared if she got chosen to read aloud in front of everyone. And I kind of was wondering, maybe this isn't really for me. Maybe I shouldn't really do this. And it seems really hard. Like, what do you mean I have to get this line on the first take? What do you mean there's such thing as cold reads where I don't even get the script before I get it the day of? Now, I did do theater club, which I know, bit of an oxymoron, huh? Like, I'm a very shy, introverted person, but when I get on the stage and when I perform, it's something different. I kind of block everyone out. I just really like pretending to be someone else. I like not being me for a moment. So that was the I guess, little intro of voice acting in my life, but never really thought about it again. Never really went back to it. So now fast forward, this has been a little seed in my brain that's been growing very, very, very slowly. And I kind of pushed it to the side. I graduate from high school. I don't know what I want to do. I love animals, which is another fun fact of mine. So I thought maybe I should try and do veterinary science. And so I ended up becoming a veterinary assistant for a long, long time until I met my husband, Joe. And what I've realized is that I'm a creative. I like to do art. I like to make things with my hands. I like to do voice acting. And when I said voice acting to him, he goes, oh, well, I'm an audio engineer. I have a microphone. Why don't we make you a reel? Which was a blessing, honestly. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of people don't know where to begin with that. It was a good blessing for me. So we did our first reel. And I put it up on Casting Call Club, and I did a few little projects here and there. They were really fun. I did a few small projects for YouTube videos, and I was getting a lot of compliments, and I was getting really confident in what I could do. And then one day I stumbled upon the Skywind Casting Call Club page. And I was really interested because I also play Skyrim, I play Fallout, and I love Bethesda games, and I said, you know what, let me try out for this. And I did, and I got a part for a Khajiit, and I think also a few little NPC Argonians. And then I realized, oh, this mod is huge, because they invited me to the Trello page with all the stuff that they could do. And I saw all the work that's getting put into this stuff, and it's really incredible. And it was really in the Skywind mod that I really got into what it was like to have a bunch of different lines, and also to have exertion lines. So like grunting and swinging. And that was when I was like, oh, I love this. This is so fun. Like, I wanted to do this. Like, I really wanted to do this. So I was really excited. I put all my lines in, and then it was more just the waiting game. I just had to wait for everybody, but I was allowed to announce that I was in it, and I was allowed to put the voice and work on my webpage, which I did, and I just waited. And what I was waiting for was for them to tell me that it was done, and instead I got an email that was really surprising, but really, really cool, from someone else who was working on the project for free and having fun and doing his own thing. And his name was Joey. Hi, Joey, if you're listening to this. He was really, really cool. And he asked me, he said, hey, I saw your work and everything that you did, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in trying out for another video game project. It's an indie game. Don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called No More Room in Hell. And I swear to you, the year before that, I just started playing that game. It was really fun, really scary. I was hearing all the voice. It's so funny because I was hearing the voice actors in the game, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is a game in a game that people just kind of made. It was first a mod for Half-Life 2, and people loved it so much that they ended up later on making it its own official re-release as its own game. And so Joey was like, hey, so, I don't know if you've heard of it, but we're making the second one. And I was like, what? I got an email for this? Of course I'm interested. So I shot him an email real quick, and I was like, yes, I am interested. What would you need from me? Is there an audition page? Just let me know. And he was like, yeah, we're thinking of having some survivors, so maybe you can kind of just shoot us some lines of you saying that you need ammo and something with you hurt, maybe one of you screaming. So I did that, and he was like, great, we love you, let's get you on board. And I was so excited, and I did all the lines, I did all my grunts and grovels and things, and I handed it to him. I got my first paycheck ever for an indie game. I thought that was so cool. I even have my invoice saved somewhere because I I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then I said, okay, I guess we just wait. I guess we just wait for the game to come out. The game was released in October of, I think, 2024. It wasn't a full release, though. It was just a pre-release. They're actually still working on it to this day. So I never really got to push on the momentum for that. But I did do other projects. I worked with a YouTuber multiple times called Orion Zax. He does a lot of animations or comic dubs on things like Transformers and Sonic, and those were really fun to do. And right now we're working on something else, which I don't think I can talk about, but I can't wait to start on that one because that sounds like a fun project. But that is my background in other projects. And in between those stories, there is one great story. And it's all because, like I mentioned before, I am a fan of Fallout. I've been a fan of Fallout for a while. I want to say that my favorite installment would have to be probably... It's a decent... It's really hard. It's hard for me to choose between 3 and New Vegas. I think I played New Vegas more. I got on it more multiple times. As of recently, because of how I play on my computer, so the ports are kind of weird for the computer. Like I had New Vegas start up and then it just kept crashing and crashing. I was actually streaming it with a little avatar, 3D avatar that looked like Bunny, that I made to look like Bunny. I streamed with it and I started, but then it was just crashing. But as of recently, I am playing 4 a lot. When I get bored, I just get on. I haven't started 76 yet. I do want to do that. I would like to do that with Preston. It's been a little hectic, but it's something that I am willing to do once my schedule kind of clears up. But I think I enjoyed the atmosphere of the games. It was really fun to explore in both 3 and New Vegas. I think what I liked about 3 as well is that you kind of like as you're exploring and as you're playing, you kind of forget like, oh, I forgot I'm supposed to find my dad. Like you're having so much fun exploring the world that you're not really focused on the story. And I love games like that where I could do everything else. But my love for Fallout is how I got involved with True Vault Escapades. And again, it's because I loved Fallout already. I played it so much and I enjoyed it. My husband also loves Fallout. Every so often we'll make jokes, we'll make references, and we listen to all the Fallout games, radio stations. We even listen to Preston's when we're like, okay, we don't want to listen to the video game ones. Let's listen to the one that Preston made, that it's all these oldies, and we'll relax with them. I'll cook with it in the background, and I love the music. I guess that's another reason why I love the Fallout universe. To go back to that last question, the music is great. But I one day, being a Fallout fan that I am, I also love BioShock, so this also played a big part in it as well. I found Preston first through the BioShock series. So one day my husband was like, man, I'm really appreciative of all the commercials that I'm doing and all of the business videos that I work on, which is great. But I really want to get into something that's like story driven, with like voices and background sounds and making movies, but, audio version. And I was like, oh, you know who you should contact? This guy who makes these BioShock videos. And I was like, you should just write them. And so he did, which was really cool because then Joe speaks to me and says, hey, Preston's looking for a bunny. And I said, bunny? You mean from his Fallout show, which I also had on the background every so often? I was like, yeah, I'll audition. I was so excited. And so I sent the audition in, and here's where it's kind of weird because I was listening to all the bunnies and I'm noticing that all the bunnies sound different. So it seemed to me that it was kind of like whatever you think bunny is. So I, you hear my voice as I'm talking right now. It's very high pitched, probably a teenager sounding. And I was like, I can't use my normal voice. That's not bunny. And I just looked at her and I'm staring at her and I'm like, man, she's like this bombshell and she's a badass and she's just so cool. So I'm like, what do I do? What should I do with her? And then I just said, hello, my name's Bunny. And I was like, oh, that might be Bunny. So I auditioned with that. And I think I've got her voice. I really hope people enjoy her voice. I just hope I could do Bunny justice, or I hope I am doing Bunny justice and I continue to do her justice because she is a great character. I love the idea of following these two detectives. Like it brought me to a time, to that era of what it's supposed to be. I felt like I was sitting in front of a radio instead of a TV. It sounded so nice and the adventures were so fun between them. And again, you know, I love Fallout. So it was like more stories in the wasteland. I really enjoy True Vault Escapades and I'm really glad that it was made. And I'm really glad that it's being seen by a lot of people now because Preston works very hard on this stuff. And I think he deserves all the love in the world for these stories that he spits out nonstop. Playing Bunny, wow, playing Bunny, it feels really good because, like I said, she's one of the main characters. It's just so awesome to know that I am able to voice one of the main protagonists and badass detective, one of the detective duos. Like it's just really, really cool. And I just hope, like I said a million times, I hope I'm doing her and the show justice. So there's not a lot of things that I don't really like about Bunny. I think that she's, like I said, so awesome. Sometimes it's funny because when I make my characters in Fallout, I usually make them like her, which I think that's another reason why I got so drawn to Bunny. I usually have their intelligence very high because I love hacking terminals. I usually use pistols, so my agility is very high as well. I try to bring her charisma a little high up as much as I can. I tend to pick whatever perk does more damage to the male population. And I just make her in games. And then even funnier, I tend to go with very light colored hair. If it's not like a bleach blonde, almost white color, it's just blonde. And like I said, I saw Bunny and I'm like, wow, she's great. I really like this character. So when it comes to things I don't like, I can't really think of anything. I think there was one episode where she showed a trait that I wasn't really happy with. And I didn't fully understand it, but I do understand that people show trauma and react to trauma in so many different ways. And I guess this is her way. But in the episode where, spoiler alert, I don't know if anybody may not be caught up, but there is someone that comes back from her past. And I guess hearing this news kind of brought out something. She felt to me very childish in that moment. Like, there was one point where she's like, la la la, la 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 la. Like, she doesn't want to listen to what people have to say. And I was like, whoa. She didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to let anybody talk. Anytime anybody mentioned his name, she's like, no, this person's not back. And like, you know, she just big in denial. And I think that was the only time that I was like, Bunny, what's going on? But I also, like I said, understood because this is, from what I see now, this is how that character reacts towards very high stress when it comes to something as traumatic as that, as what happened to her. So maybe that was the only thing. But again, because I basically explained it, I don't really see it as a negative trait, but it is just something that I thought, oh, poor Bunny. Like, wow, she's acting very differently now. And you can tell that this is something that bothers her a lot. I think I do have a favorite episode of True Vault Escapades. I don't know if it counts because it's a crossover. But I really, really enjoyed the Watery Grave case. I loved the atmosphere of the whole thing. I loved the story, the ending, like everything was so good. And I don't know if it counts since it was like an alternate universe type of episode. But if I can't pick that one as my favorite episode, I would say that my favorite episode is probably I think it would have to be the case of the Mothman, because I love the Mothman both in Fallout and cryptid lore. My parting words for everyone. Well, I guess I just want to go back to saying thank you guys so much for listening and for tuning in to True Vault Escapades. Thank you so much for, if you do love me as Bunny, I appreciate you so much for enjoying my take on Bunny. And if you don't like my Bunny, I appreciate you so much for staying anyway, because like I said, Preston really deserves all the love in the world, and I'm really sorry if Bunny isn't the best for you. But thank you for sticking around and supporting Preston, and thank you guys for any of your purchases of merch that Preston made. It really supports him and everything that he does. And I wish everyone here the best. And just remember, if there is some sort of dream that you have, you know, even though you might not get the world at the end, or even though you might not get exactly what you're looking for, I would say go for it anyway, because look at me. I'm not the biggest voice acting movie star in the world, but I have met so many cool people. I've been a part of so many cool projects, and I still have something to show people when they ask me about what I've done. And it's just been a really fun experience, and I wouldn't really change any of that. But thank you guys so much, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Who knew it would come to this? All these months and moons out in the desert made me feel like I was painting over the wall of my mistakes. Granted, we helped a lot of people in this grand escapade. But what is that they say about the past coming to get you? Thought you could pull a fast one on us, huh? We were meant to get whacked today to get out of the way. Casket's planning something. I know it. Oh, Mary, I sunk my claws into you. But little do you know, you did the same to me. Only way I can hope to bring you in alive is if you find it in your heart to put your hand up when the time comes. Now you listen to me. I'm getting sick and tired of your woe is me act. Every time I run into you, it's nothing but how much I've ruined your life. To have someone to share your pain with is worth more than platinum, Bunny. It's worth more than anything at all. And you've always got me.
I could tell from the start, this was going to be a case I would never forget.
Hi everyone, my name is Eric Huffman, and I am the voice of Walter Camry on True Vault Escapades. So, a little about myself. I'm 32. I live in Northwest Ohio, and I have my whole life. I have what's mostly a theater degree. It's a general studies degree, which is a degree that's been cobbled together from a bunch of different things that I studied while in college, but then ended up doing the bulk of it in theater. So I have mostly a theater degree. I've been doing theater for, if you count the 2 high school musicals I did, I've been doing it for about 14 years now. I really got into it in college. I started performing with a small drama society that was on the college campus that I was going to. And then from there, I branched out into community theater. I've worked a lot of different jobs over the years, but recently I started working in a greenhouse, and I absolutely love it. And it goes along very well with the market garden that I have been spending the last 3 years to build. I currently live on an acre out in the country, and about 6,000 square feet of that I have converted into a massive garden. And I am growing organic produce to sell to local restaurants and local markets. So now, how did I get into voice acting? I started back in middle school. It was something that I kind of performed as a gimmick at lunch and in class and stuff like that. I would do impressions of movies and stuff. My most often requested impression was always Gingerbread Man from Shrek, which constantly they wanted to hear that one. But I just loved it. I loved being able to do the voice. I loved being able to match the inflection perfectly and just get everybody laughing. over the years, I added impressions and things to the bit, basically, most of which have gone pretty well unpracticed by now, but I might still be able to do, here, let's see. Oh boy, Mickey Mouse. That's about as close as I think I'm going to get. But it was really just doing little things like that for people and just kind of performing in that sort of way. And it just, I don't know, it really just made me happy, making people laugh. My biggest audience was my twin brother, Aaron. I would do voices for him from all kinds of different cartoons that we would have watched growing up. Or I would chase him around the house doing Herbert the Pervert from Family Guy, which I thought was hilarious and he hated. But I always had a lot of fun just doing voices for him and entertaining him. So True Vault Escapades is the largest project that I have ever done. I've done some small commercials and things like that on the side, but I really haven't put myself out there much. Partly because, and you might think this is kind of sad, honestly, but I don't really enjoy the recording process very much. It's very different than the experience that I fell in love with, right? I'm here alone talking to my computer. I'm not in front of an audience or with my friends or my brother making anyone laugh or anything like that, so that I can join in with their fun, because that was kind of the whole point for me, was to cause fun for other people so that I could have fun too, right? So now I know I'm in here, when I'm recording, I'm causing fun, but I like to experience that with my audience. And so sometimes it's just kind of tough for me to get into the booth, and do the work, because it's kind of lacking for me a little bit. So I just put my all into True Vault Escapades, and I'm honestly so grateful that Preston's decided to keep it running as long as he has, because otherwise I wouldn't really have any work. I was a huge Fallout fan before I came to the show. I started with Fallout 3, and that just blew me away. The retro, sci-fi, futuristic feel, oh yeah, give me all that. Plus the music, fantastic. My favorite era of music of all time. I got to listen to swing music and shoot laser beams. Oh, absolutely. I think Fallout New Vegas is probably my favorite Fallout game, based on how much I've played it or how much I've replayed it. I've spent a lot of hours playing Fallout New Vegas. Not as many as I've spent playing Skyrim, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, Fallout New Vegas just really scratches an itch for me. And I've got the DLC and everything. So I visit Big Mountain probably once a year, honestly. I kind of love that DLC is one of my favorites of all time. I love the weapons in it. I did a melee build one time that I end up using the proton axe quite a bit. And if you do a good melee build with that proton axe, man, you can lay out some Night Stalkers. But yeah, I think New Vegas is probably my favorite. So I first got involved in the show because I was following Preston on Instagram. Back in 2016, he was doing a lot of Fallout content, and he had just started his radio channel, and he's playing all the music, so I really loved that. And he put out a post about a radio show that he was looking to create, and I was just like, oh, wow, this content creator that I love is gonna create a radio show. I should audition for this. So I did. And he somehow loved it, and I was blown away by that, and the rest is history, I guess. I mean, I have always loved True Vault Escapades. I thought that it was just such a fun idea to be doing a detective story in the wasteland, because it's almost like why? There's no central government, there's no central authority. So why be a detective? And it's well, I guess just to try and help people, it's he's got good investigative skills, good instincts. So why not put that to use, helping people out? So I thought it was a fantastic premise, and I've just loved it. It's been a lot of fun watching Walter and Bunny grow from all of their adventures and grow closer and grow apart and grow closer again, so it's been a fun ride. Being the longest running cast member, I think it does fill me with a a certain sense of pride because I can say, you know, I was there at the beginning of this still ongoing project. But honestly, I think it's largely been at the grace of Preston. I've made Preston wait and wait and wait for my work, to the point where I myself was worried that he was going to begin the process of recasting me. You know, so it's really been by his grace that I am still here getting to entertain you in the way that I can. The only advice I would give to anyone who's newly joined the cast or is looking to join the cast is get some stage experience. That is where I believe you learn acting, on the stage. This is not the greatest container for learning how to act. It can be, but I believe that the stage is the best container to learn the craft of acting. And all of those skills that you learn on the stage can come right into the booth with you. I think my favorite episodes probably have to be the Star Wars episodes, in all honesty, because it's the closest I'm ever going to get to being able to play in two universes that I absolutely adore. You know, so that was one of the things I applied to AMDA back in the day, and I remember in my letter, I wrote how, you know, I wanted to be a Jedi, swinging a lightsaber and things like that. So, you know, Preston gave me that opportunity here. And not only did I get to play on the light side, I got to play on the dark side, which was so much fun. You know, playing a hero is great, but playing a villain, you know, there can be some entertainment in there too. So, yeah, the Star Wars episodes were a lot of fun for me. But I do have to say, I've loved chasing Casket around. It's been, that SOB is so clever and crafty. Like, it is just, I think he's definitely my favorite villain that we've had in the show. It's just, he has been a card. In parting, I would really just like to say something that I have wanted to say for a very, very long time now, and that's simply thank you. Thank you to everyone who listens, whether you've been listening from the beginning or you just started. I appreciate you guys so, so much. Thank you so much for being our fans. Thank you so much for loving our show and for showing us the support that you have for all these years.
And I truly hope that we can continue entertaining you for many more years to come. From my office here at WB Investigations, this is Walter Camry, signing off.
And to all lovers of the show, new and old, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. True Vault Escapades is a pure labor of love on my end, yes, but it's the support and encouragement of you all that keep it going, and continues to keep it going. Because of that, I've had the privilege of joining my first panel alongside Modus Files creator Lawrence McNamara at the 2025 Fallout Fan Celebration. We've had guest stars on the show like Ryan Alosio, Lane Compton, and Mr. Matty Place, plus many others. What comes next is anybody's guess, but I'm excited either way. So to 10 years of True Vault Escapades, raise your Nuka-Colas, because we dedicate this toast to all of you. But I won't let you go that easily. As the cherry on top for the occasion, I felt it was high time to give you all a peek into what we have going on next season. Considering you all have caught up with the show, you know the stakes were just raised the highest they've been since the start of the series. Season 7 is going to be the most twisty, suspenseful, and high-octane ride we've ever dove into. And the season premiere certainly sets the tone. Written by my friend Joshua Belmonte, this is a scene from The Cost of Valor.
You called me in?
Yeah,
Why didn't you call Walter?
I don't know what happened between you two, but I heard through the grapevine you're leaving, and I think you'd be best to investigate this.
Why me?
The case is inside an NCR base, and I trust your instincts more, if I could be frank.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's the case?
Have you heard of Charles Putnam?
Mad Dog Putnam? The NCR Medal of Valor winner?
2-time medal winner, aye. He was found dead last night in his quarters. 2 shots to the chest, and 1 shot to the genitals.
Sounds personal. This probably shouldn't include me. Doesn't the NCR have its own investigators?
Aye, we do. But the war has drained a lot of our manpower, unfortunately. Upper brass wanted someone not in our books, so this investigation can be...
Private? That doesn't make much sense. A war hero dying isn't going to leak out. Don't you find that suspicious?
It's not my job to question things, but I'll be accompanying you on this one. They wanted me to...
Monitor me. What the hell are we stepping into?
I don't know, but I'll double your rate. It'll help with wherever you're going.
Thanks. When do we leave?
Now, we have a vertibird ready for us.
What are you guys still doing here? You know the special's over, right? Go on, get out of it.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.